Hi, Lily. How are you? Can you hear me?
Lily? Hello, Doris.
Right, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah, I couldn't hear you
Okay.
right at the beginning. I can hear you now. I hope
All right.
everything's good.
Everything is good. Thank you. Yes. How you doing?
Great, great. I'm multitasking. I'm still in with Albany, still in
Oh,
a
wow.
budget conference. So I'm gonna just mute and stop the video, but I'll be back at 5 o'clock.
Okay, we'll be here. All right. Hi, Lindley. Can you hear me?
Hi, Doris. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are
Oh,
you?
Good. There goes the dog. No,
That's
Jack, it's Doris. You went to see her before.
all right.
Where's
That's
Doris?
yeah.
All right, I'm going to
Okay.
mute too.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Lindley.
I'll mute myself rather.
Hi, Will. This is Doris. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Doris.
How are you, Kate?
I'm good, Doris. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. You're amazing what you keep organized, Doris.
Oh, I try. Yes, you have everything and email it to you and the board members. So
Yeah, a lot of balls in the air to juggle.
yes, yes. We do our best.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Kate. Thank you. How are you, Eileen?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Hi, Chick.
Hi,
Hi, Doris. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Hi, Kate. Good evening.
How you doing, Chick?
I've been good.
Good.
Actually out in Greenport today, flagging wetlands. It was a beautiful day.
It was, yes, yes.
I'm a little weather beaten.
I bet.
It's a big site.
I see John is connecting.
Hi, Haley.
Hey, Chick, how's it going?
It's going good.
Oh, Jack, no one, sorry, the dog gets. He doesn't like the initial zoom of hello.
I
No
hear that.
sailing for us in the Caribbean this year.
No. It's been 2 years since I was there, but I would much rather be doing something like that. However, the coming sailing season will have to tide me over. The beautiful waters around our parts are pretty nice in the summer.
I know. I'm gonna start sailing sunfish this year.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I started in the fall and completely different because I'm so used to big boat sailing.
Yes.
Oh my heavens. We came out of the breakwater and I knew the winds were going to pick up once we were out of the current. And I'm used to, from what I rode, when you'd pull the reins in of a horse, it would stop. I pulled the reins in and it was like kaboof.
Take off.
My God, I looked
I've
like
always
one of
said-
those walrus or the sea lions at Bannister Wharf heaving back up onto the thing. It was pretty bad.
I've always said you cannot have more fun on a boat than you can on a sunfish. It's
They're
just,
great.
they are so good.
Yeah.
Hi, John. How are you?
All right, so who do we have? I didn't hear anybody say they weren't coming.
Hi, Marianne.
Kate and John. Herb Samble, Will Sharp, have any of those fine fellows shown up?
Greetings.
Well,
Hi, Will. How are you?
There's
Hi, hi.
Will. Will in his basement.
Yep.
You didn't hear anything from Herb, did you?
No, I saw him early today. He picked up his packet. He was here, so. I
Okay.
missed-
All right.
yeah.
Is the village office open?
Yeah. I
Oh,
was
it
there
is?
today. Mhm.
Is this the harbor meeting?
It
Yes.
is.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to make sure I was in the right meeting.
Why not check it out now rather than wait a half an hour, right?
Exactly. And then find out, oh, I'm not in the right meeting.
Right. All right, well, Doris, let's say the Pledge of Allegiance and hope that Herb shows up.
Yes, he's actually logging
in
in
now?
right now.
Okay, great.
Okay, so let me share the screen. There's the flag. You
Oh.
see that?
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance
Pledge
to
allegiance
the
to
flag
flag
of the
Of the
United States of America and to
and to the republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
Indivisible,
with liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for all. All right, so this is on
and
March 4th, 2021, meeting of the Harbor Committee, Sag Harbor Village. We have present, we have Lily Phil, we have Kate Plum, we have Will Sharp, we have Herb Samble, there he is, John
There he
Parker, and myself, Marianne Eddy.
Marianne, I'm sorry, Marianne, do you want your camera off? It's
Oh.
off, just
Let's put
so
it
you
on.
know.
There it is.
There
Hi.
you go.
So we're going to do, because we have 5 months worth of minutes to approve, we're going to put that at the end. So none of the public has to sit through that laborious, tedious process. So is there anybody here from the public that has any comment? Not about anything on the agenda, but anything in general that they'd like to address to the Harbor Committee?
Okay, I'm going to check the participants list. I do not see any hands up yet. Okay. No hands.
Okay. So then continuing on with the agenda. We have old business, which is 59 John Street. Is there anybody here to speak for the applicant?
Actually, Marianne, we have 12 Green Street.
I'm looking at the one that I just print. Oh, no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Thank you so much.
No problem.
No. Yes, we have 12 Green Street, and we got a request to table this. Did we not, Doris?
That is correct.
Correct.
Thank you so much. Can I have a motion to table this until the April 1st meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Second, please. Thank you, John. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
So now we're moving on to 59 John Street. And this is presently an open hearing, public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak to this application?
I'm here.
Oh,
Hi,
Hi, Susanna.
I'm Susanna Herman and Consultants, 1319 North Sea Road, Southampton, for the applicant.
great.
Thank you.
So, as you may recall, this is a continuation. This is a, let me share, can I share my screen? Is that okay?
Yes, of course. Let me,
Okay, yeah.
hold on. Susanna, Okay, you're ready.
Okay. All right, so you should see the survey here.
Yes.
You see that? Okay, just want to make sure it's working.
Yes.
So as you may recall, at the original application to construct a house here at 59 John Street was approved several years ago, I think 2011. It was renewed and expired. And so we have put in an application to originally to get reapproved what was previously approved. And just to refresh your memory, because the wetland line was several years old, we went back and redelineated the wetlands. The DEC insisted that we flag the freshwater wetland fringe on the landward side of the tidal wetland. So what happened is the wetlands grew a little bit into the property. So although the original house was proposed 75 feet from wetlands, it was suddenly a little closer. I believe it was 64 feet or so. So based on the feedback from the board, we went back to the drawing board and redesigned the house to make sure that all of the proposed structures conform to the 75-foot setback. So the house now meets the 75-foot setback from the wetlands. And the only things that don't 100% conform is the driveway access, which would be across the adjacent property to the north. There is an easement that's been in place since the original approval years ago. And there's a detail on the survey, which hopefully you can see here. This has already been filed. This is a driveway and utility easement, which has been formalized and is in place in order to get to the building portion of the property. Because the street frontage for this property is off of John Street down here, right next to the wetlands. So in order to maximize the setback from the driveway to the wetlands, the driveway is proposed going around this existing house through the area that's already cleared into this portion of the property. Several years ago, the previous owner did a lot line modification in order to create this lot in this shape so that they would have a building lot that was as far as possible from the wetlands. And as part of that whole lot line modification process, they created this easement here. So as I mentioned, the only things not conforming to the 75-foot setback are this pervious gravel driveway and the sanitary system. The septic system At the closest point, the leaching pools are 92.3 feet from the closest point of the wetlands, where 100 feet is required. As you can see, this is as far back as we can get. It's the location that makes the most sense on the property. It's the minimum size septic system. It would be an IA denitrification system. So it is the best possible septic system available. And it's the minimum distance to the property line allowable. We're allowed to go 5 feet from the property lines. So that's what we've done. We've gotten as far back from the wetlands as physically possible. It
What
also,
is,
I'm
what
sorry,
is labeled TU?
that's the septic tank.
A
Okay,
treatment unit or something.
Treatment unit. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the acronym was.
Probably is. But it's
Treatment
a
unit.
Fuji clean. Says
Right.
It's a Fuji clean, so.
Yeah,
And-
so the septic system details are on the survey.
and
Yeah.
that doesn't have to be 10 feet from the house, only the leaching pools?
From the property line. The treatment unit can be 5 feet from the house if the house is on the slab. And I remember this came up at the last meeting and I said I would look into it. Let me blow this up so you can see it.
Okay,
There's a note here that says part of proposed house on slab.
right,
This portion of the house would be on a slab. And the reason for that is because if it were basement or crawl space in this area, then we would have to be 10 feet away.
Right.
And because we're trying to squeeze it in there and take up as little room as possible and maximize our setbacks, they've put the treatment unit or the tank 5 feet from the house instead of the normally required 10 feet. And as a result, this portion of the house would be on a slab up to this line here. So those are the two items that don't comply with the 75-foot setback. A question was raised at the previous hearing about the average 50-foot buffer. And I had the surveyor do two things. They did a calculation, which is on the survey as well. The proposed buffer area is 17,143 square feet. If it were just a 50-foot buffer, it would be 13,893. So you can see we're well over that. And prepared a little visual as well. Can you see the green and the pink?
Yep.
Yes.
The green is the portion of the subject property that's within 50 feet that is not buffer, because that's the location of our driveway. And the pink is the area that is beyond the 50-foot buffer requirement, which is proposed to be vegetated,
right,
supposed to be buffer. So as you can see, the pink greatly
exceeds,
that's the word I'm looking for, exceeds the green.
right.
So we are well above the 50-foot average buffer requirement.
That's great. And that's the way the law reads, that you can, sort of max and minute as long as the overall square footage equals 50 feet and you've exceeded that.
Right. Chick had a question comparing this buffer square footage, the 17,000 and change buffer square footage compared to the previously approved from the original approval in 2011. It went down a little bit because our wetlands actually grew a little bit.
Right.
So that
Sense.
the buffer is the same, but the wetlands grew. So the wetlands haven't really changed that much. The line and the way we flagged it has changed. And I also wanted to point out, can you see the photograph there?
Absolutely.
This is the location of the proposed driveway. That's my old car. You can see it's already cleared. I think that
Right.
stake delineates the property line. where we go from the adjacent property to the subject property. So as you can see, it's already cleared, as is the entire area that we are proposing to build on. There was a garage here that before it was a lot line modification, there was a garage that went to some other property that was demolished. So this is previously cleared land. This is looking from the location of the proposed house down towards the water. And all of these trees, all of this natural vegetation would remain. And this lawn would be replaced with native vegetation.
Can you go back? Can you say that? My mind just wandered for a moment and
Okay.
I realized I missed it. Can you just repeat that last
Sure.
bit about?
This is a photograph looking
Right.
from the location of the proposed house
Right,
towards the pond.
right.
And you can see the wetlands line sort of goes through the middle here. You can see where the tidal wetlands line is, where the phragmites are. And
Right.
then there's a a freshwater area with some freshwater trees and vegetation. All of that is to stay. All of this undisturbed land would stay. No trees are coming down here at all. This lawn area would be converted to native vegetation. So we're not proposing to do any clearing, except within the building envelope where we would be building the house and the driveway. This is sort of where the septic would be going. There are 2 trees on the property that would need to be removed. Otherwise, it's completely cleared. This, I believe, is a Norway spruce. It's not a native tree.
Yeah.
It's not indigenous to the area. This is an American holly, which would unfortunately need to be removed to make room for the sanitary system. All of the other trees on the property would be protected and would be remaining on the site. We are in an area that is a potential habitat for the long-eared bat, the northern long-eared bat. And Chick had mentioned that there were time limitations on taking down any trees that could potentially be habitat for the long-eared bat. I don't know if these particular trees would actually be habitat, but there would be, they could only be removed during certain times of the year. I was on the DEC website today. There's some question as to when that window is. According to what I saw, and I could do some more research and Chip and I can discuss this further. It says for Suffolk County, December 1st to February 28th is the time period in which you can cut down a tree. And I don't know if Chick has different information or if I'm.
No, that's correct.
Okay,
A very narrow window for Suffolk County. They recently updated it and made it more narrow, as you said, December 1st to February 20th.
right.
There's probably, I mean, we usually put a condition in permits to recognize that, and there may be ways to assess the habitat and obtain a no-take determination from DEC. So
Mhm.
to you, and you know, at least to provide the flexibility that if there's no impact to bat habitat, that you would still be able to remove those trees outside of that window.
Because you're outside of that window, you don't want to wait until December again now, do you? Does that hold everything up here?
I'm not sure what the plans are as far as timing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's up to you, but we'll provide the flexibility.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be great. I did receive a DEC wetland permit, both tidal and freshwater wetland permits for this project. And I contacted them after after receiving the permits and after finding out about the long-eared bat potential habitat, and they didn't seem concerned about it. They said, well, we issued you a DEC permit, you can go forward. But we will double check with that because we definitely don't want to break any rules.
It's good karma to like leave the long-eared bats alone.
Absolutely. I'm in favor of protecting the long-eared bats.
Exactly.
Totally.
So we'll make sure that we comply in that area. We've submitted a revised revegetation plan to match the revised house layout And Chick had some comments about the vegetation choice, which I'll take back to the landscapers and make sure that they take those recommendations.
What were your comments, Chuck?
Just a couple of species substitutions. There were several species that were down the list, but on the invasive species list as recommended to not be used. But I think there could easily be some substitutions. We had a comment on a sedge species that we thought might be a species that would do better on this site. So those were put in a letter that did go to the Harbor Committee members, and Susanna also obtained a copy. So I think they're very straightforward and easy to address, but we wanted to tune that up.
So who was the landscaper that was planning on putting an invasive species in?
The plan is done by Summerhill.
Okay,
So I'm going to have a talk with them about eliminating their common use of these invasive species and see if they can make some substitutions whenever possible, not just in Harbor Committee jurisdiction.
I think in one case we made a recommendation, but you definitely have some flexibility and lots of opportunities for good choices.
Right. The Carex pennsylvanica, people like it because it's very low growing and it's not, doesn't make you feel, like you're being overgrown because it's sort of a smaller plant. And because the vegetation is coming up so close to the proposed house, I thought that was a good choice. But if you have a different.
I think we would be okay with that. Again, the letter speaks for itself, and anything reasonable, if you want to call, that's fine. But
Okay.
I'm okay with the sedge.
Okay.
is that the one that's potentially invasive?
No, that one's fine.
That's native.
Okay. So this is with total humility. Is that Suffolk County Health Department rule about the setback for the sanitary system from the wetlands of 100 feet?
Well, the Suffolk County Health, let me pull the survey back up if I can.
You said you were 92 feet. I
That,
don't remember discussing that kind of an issue before, so
the Suffolk County Department of Health requires that you be 100 feet to the surface water. And
Okay.
we would make that. The wetlands here at the closest point are not surface water.
right.
It's mature trees, it's hydric soils. It's not actual surface water. The pond is actually,
Right.
back here. I believe the 100-foot setback from wetlands is a village requirement.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But I just don't remember reviewing that before. Is that part of zoning board or something? Or do we usually look at that and I've just been asleep?
You mean sanitary system setback?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's in the law. It's in chapter 285.
okay. Sorry. All right, so there's no practicable alternative here for moving that back further because you're kind of in a box there. Is that correct, Chick?
Yes, Susanna did mention that before. The 5-foot minimum to the
Yep.
property line is a minimum.
And they'd put it on a slab?
Yeah, I don't know if there's any, are the two septic leaching pools, are they as close as they can be together? In other words, the one to the north, is there a potential to shift that at all? Or
I
is there a 10-foot
believe
separation required?
there is an 8-foot separation here.
Yeah.
I believe we're at the minimum
I think that is the minimum.
because, we did instruct the surveyor and they are very well aware of the required setbacks. And it's been a while since we talked about this with the surveyor, but I'm pretty sure that the engineer designed it to be as far back as possible. Because they have to keep the pools a certain distance from the tank and the pools a certain distance from one another and from the house
Right.
and from the property line. So everything is
Very
pushed back
tight.
as far as possible. Yeah, it's very
Was
timely.
there a, Susanna, was there a sanitary system associated with the prior structure that you know of? Or it was just a garage with,
I believe it was just a garage. I don't believe there's any sanitary on this property that was abandoned.
okay.
I didn't see any evidence of it.
I mean, it's a very tight system. You know, we're fortunate here to have enough depths of groundwater that you can go with deeper leaching pools. So you don't have a, you know, spaced out system with multiple shallow leaching pools. And it certainly looks as though it's as far as it can be.
Right.
Right, and we're very fortunate that this portion of the property is actually fairly high. We're 10 feet above sea level here. So we don't even need to bring in large amounts of fill and, you know, build a retaining wall or anything like that. We do have that to our advantage.
Right.
I just have,
Go
oh,
ahead.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I mean, if the wetlands are moving, you know, and they're going to move, I mean, is there any, do we make any, you know, judgment about that? That, I mean, they're going to move in the same direction they have been moving. And doesn't that make the whole situation a little precarious? I mean,
Based on the current wetland setback and the location of wetlands, Kate, that hasn't come up. It's certainly a good observation. I don't know. I was on a site in Nassau County yesterday, and the wetlands were less encompassing than prior. But you know, it all depends on groundwater conditions, surface water conditions, the type of wetlands. There's a number of factors. I don't recall in this case, Susanna, you said it was related to how the wetlands were flagged.
Yeah, I didn't do the initial flagging in 2011. I think it was Roy Hagee, my predecessor here. And it was approved by the DEC, but I feel it's more a difference in how they were flagged as opposed to the wetlands changing in reality. I think with the DEC's insistence at this point that we include the freshwater fringe, we took into account the forested area that has wet soils and supports plants that like that wet area. Those trees have obviously been there for a very long time. Let me see my picture. Pull up that picture again if I can find it.
and in a way, those big trees take, they prevent the wetlands from growing more, I would imagine. I mean, they can only survive in a certain amount of.
Right. If it gets wet really quickly, you see a lot of dead trees.
Right.
Is what happens.
Right.
And that's a winterscape, but are there dead trees there? Is that encroaching wetland actually like killing off some of the trees?
Not significantly, I don't think.
I didn't observe that when I was on the site.
No, see, which is what my point is. I don't think the wetlands are actually moving. I think it's just a difference by a few feet in how they were flagged and how they were mapped out.
Well, it's almost 10 feet. Isn't it 64, 75 or something? I mean.
Right. It was almost 10 feet at the closest point.
Right.
However, that's the difference if, including one tree or not in some cases.
Right.
We see differences between DEC members, even within the same department, between the state and towns throughout Suffolk County. It's hard. You always try and come up with a rationale for the propensity of upland species to wetland species. Most of the regulations on Long Island don't take into account soils and hydrology as much as like Army Corps flagging, but those are important factors as well. So you would hope, and in some cases, different people will flag it in the same exact location, but it doesn't always happen that way.
Right.
And the other thing I wanted to ask, is it feasible to move, to bundle up that holly? Did you have to get rid of? You know, to root it up, and is that at all possible or feasible?
Hey, the landscaper may want to, sell it to someone else. That's not a bad idea. I can ask Summerhill if that's something that would make sense.
I wouldn't say sell it to somebody else. I'd say
Move it
hang
on.
to it and move it.
Right. No.
Move it to your restoration area in the back. of the-
Right. That would be, as long as it stays in the upland or on the border of the upland and the wetland, I think that would be possible. I don't know about the
You need a
logistics.
large machine. I know they do have the ability to do that. You might have to prune it some and get a large piece of equipment in there, but certainly.
And I mean, you can't dig it up and move it in June, July, August. That'll fry it.
Right. Yeah, it has to be the correct season, and it's too big to do by hand. It's an enormous specimen.
Yeah, you would need large machinery. I assume that would be fairly expensive. So I can talk to the homeowners and to the landscaper and see if that's something that they would be interested in doing.
It would cost them a lot of money, but it's kind of one of those things that, maybe at the end of the day, it's the right thing to do. But I don't think we can stipulate that they have to do it. Anybody else?
Include holly in your restoration area plan.
So that needs to be addressed. And then it was a new house.
Does somebody have their microphone on?
Your Will does.
Mixer that is somehow not working. And we need to get that.
Hey, Will, can you turn your microphone off? Okay.
We don't currently have any holly in the restoration plan, but I can make that suggestion and see if that's something that would be of interest.
It seems like the owner is actually very interested in being observant and compliant.
Yeah, they may really like the idea. I just don't want to make any promises because for one, I don't know how expensive it's going to be to do that.
Right, thousands probably. Anyway, okay. Any other questions?
And there's some trees you're keeping, right? On that survey, there's some trees between the lot and the house in front, kind of.
Right. There's a handful of trees right here that are to remain. The holly and that spruce are sort of here in the septic location.
Right.
And of course, this line here is the edge of the existing clearing. So of course, everything that's in that existing vegetation area would also remain. And there's quite a few trees in there.
Okay. So is there anybody from the public who would like to address this application? There were people here last month. Did they not show up again?
I'm gonna check, Mary Ann,
Yeah, I'm looking. I don't see anybody with a hand.
Okay.
Or,
Right.
They wrote letters. Didn't we get some letters? The neighbors? Emails?
I don't see any hands at the moment.
Kate, can you refresh our memory about the letters that were written?
Well, I think I know that one of them is Susan Pensner. There's a couple people on West Henry there that I think she was one of them, but I think we did get some emails, at least one, and there was also Henry, right? He was a neighbor on the other side of John Street or something. So he wrote a letter too. What happens to those emails? Do they go in the file for this an application?
Yes, they do. They go in the file and they're circulated to all the board members for the record.
Right. Does somebody have them and you could refresh all of our memories? I picked up my packet today. I don't remember seeing it and I only had about 20 minutes finally to look at it. Chick, did you get those? Can you brief us on what the concerns were of the neighbors?
Let's see.
Sadly, I do not have access to my network tonight.
Okay.
Lean may be able to pull them up if Doris is not able to. But I am not able to, I'm sorry.
Well, they would be on the email or the regular, the government email ones, right? Did we, I saw them, so I don't, so they must be there someplace, I guess. I can try to do that, I guess.
Do,
Let's
please.
see.
I see them on our Nelson Pope and Voorhees network, if you'd like me to review those.
I see another survey.
Let's see. Oops.
I have to shrink this though and then get it up, right? I don't see. Shrink Susanna's.
Oh, do you
I-
want me to stop sharing? I can do.
I have them. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I'll review I see a few in the file. The first one is an email from Susan Pensner. Would you like me to read it's just a few paragraphs. Let
Yes,
me first thank you and all the other trustees. I'm quite disheartened by all the activity on John Street close to my home on West Henry. Our beautiful historic John Street has suddenly become overbuilt. There's construction everywhere, and now all the houses on Sag Harbor Cove have suddenly gotten permits for pools. How does this protect our wetlands? With global warming and the steady decay of our environment, we should be protecting the wetlands and ecosystems of our communities, not building two-story houses and pools. And an email from Phyllis Landy. Dear board members, say no to wetlands permit. Regarding potential wetlands permit on 59 John, a wide range of plants and animals depend on wetlands for their survival. Please do not grant a permit on this precious wetland site. The upper Sag Harbor Cove runs under the road and into the wetlands pond on John Street. Building on this land would upset the natural habitat of animals and fish that are dependent on wetlands. The upper Sag Harbor Cove, when we have had heavy rains, floods and heads across the road to the wetlands, which would be a hazard to any construction on that land. Building on this land would be a detriment to the area and the wildlife that depends on it for survival. Please protect our precious wetlands as it is our duty to do so. Thank you for your consideration.
I'm
Phyllis
not
Lynn.
getting a picture of where the flooding is. Susanna, do you have that, the survey again? Can you show us what this person maintains as flood area?
Doris, if you can let me share my screen, I have an aerial photograph right now.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay,
Sure.
give me 1 minute and I will make you co-host. Okay, check.
Is that visible?
Yeah,
Good. So here is the subject property.
right.
Susanna said, here's the existing cleared area. This is the culvert that feeds this tidal pond from Upper Sag Harbor Cove. It runs under John Street here. So this is obviously a lower point. There's some type of connection, presumably, that's occurring beneath the road. And there is a tidal pond feature, which is what Susanna showed the pictures of, looking to the west from the location of the house. So that's what's being referred to. It seems to me as though this would not directly affect it. We can certainly let Susanna speak to the merits of the application in terms of wetland restoration. This is just pulling up a 2010 aerial photograph that showed the prior structure that was on this property. And this is the current condition.
Susanna said that they had 10 feet of above groundwater, correct?
Yeah, the property slopes up, so that gives the ability to have a deeper depth of groundwater, and it allows the sanitary system to be placed with those deeper leaching pools. You can see here's the 10-foot contour running through the property. Here's the 5-foot, and this is closer to sea level to the west, and the topography increases to the east. So, you know, we're in a spot where the depth of groundwater is pretty good for what's proposed.
So it seems unlikely that there would actually be flooding across this property, correct?
That's, I'm certainly in agreement with that. The driveway is coming in to John Street in an area that's at a higher elevation, as I just showed.
I would think the area
The
near that
flooding
culvert would
areas-
be flooding here first, right?
Yeah, the flooding areas are occurring here at this.
There, right.
They still haven't even put their pool in at 62 John Street.
Right here.
Yeah.
And there's certainly, you know, that's not what's proposed at this property, but obviously there's concern throughout the village.
Okay, are there other letters that we should hear?
There are 2 others in the file from the same 2 individuals.
Different dates or the same date?
I think they're different dates. Let me take a look.
Why don't you just read through? I don't, you know, I stepped away to see if I could find it in my packet and I didn't. Right.
We have 2. One received via email, one is a Word document, so they're essentially the same from Phyllis Landy. And then we have a second email from Susan Pensner. Let me see what the date is. Same date, so they're duplicates, basically, same dates.
All right. Thank you, Eileen.
Sure.
Does there aren't any other comments from the public here?
I have one question. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's been covered about the gravel driveway. It's not going to be, as we've found with a lot of them, with the cement layer and then the gravel on top.
No, I think they did well, that's a construction entrance. No, it would definitely be a pervious gravel driveway without any impermeable layer.
Surface.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a DEC requirement.
And Susanna, that was one of the questions in the letter that you received.
So we can provide more specifications with respect to exactly how they would do that. You know, I assume it would be, you know, regular base layer and then a layer of gravel. But I can provide a methodology, a construction methodology, if that's helpful.
Sure.
The base, pardon me, the base level is the critical factor. And I assume Chick knows about this, that standard operation was a pretty petroleum-based deal. And there are, I don't know if crushed reused concrete is considered kosher, a good thing, but that's the concern. It's not the gravel on top, it's what they do with the base.
Right.
There would not be an oil layer in this case, no.
And you said something, Susanna, that there's something about the driveway that needs some kind of variance or something?
An easement. The
easement.
driveway, let me share my screen again, if that's okay. Can you see my screen? The driveway here actually goes across the adjacent property, which is owned in single and separate ownership, but it's the same family that owns this house here on the corner and the subject property. So the access from John Street would go across this neighboring property into this property. And that's because we want to maximize the wetland setback. If they came straight off of John Street, they would be coming into this area that's not cleared currently. This is all native vegetation. And they would have to remove vegetation, and they would be much closer to the wetlands than what we're proposing. So in order to maximize that and maximize the wetland setback for the driveway, and in order to not clear, in order to put in the driveway, they granted themselves an easement across the one property to get to this other property.
Okay. Well, is it time to close the public hearing here? Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move.
Thank you, John. Can I have a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
Thank you, Sir Herb. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Great. Can I have a motion to ask Chick to write up a decision here approving this application?
I have a question
That
first.
could be,
Oh,
yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Go ahead, John.
If I could, my notes from the last meeting say that there was a question that this hadn't gone to the ARB and the zoning board yet.
Ugh.
Ugh.
I'm not sure why we need to go to the zoning board. We would typically go to the ARB after getting Harbor Committee approval. Unless this board suggests that we do that now. I'm not sure what zoning variances would be required. I believe we conform with zoning setbacks.
I know that question came up on 29 Harding Terrace.
Yeah, I don't think that was a question for this application. I don't think there's any
No.
zoning issues with this project.
I'm not aware of any.
Okay, I could be wrong on that. My notes could be incorrect, or I could be taking it
Bring up
from,
that- You bring up that good question, John, of which agency gets to run with this first. And I don't know, Fred, what do you think?
Well, the only thing, from a legal perspective is that we always want the zoning board to go first, because otherwise you're approving applications that don't conform to the zoning code. So, we've always had the rule, you go to the ZBA first. As far as other boards for applications that conform, and by the way, I guess this one technically doesn't in some minor regard. So maybe it is better here first, because it does need some relief, as far as, with the septic and I guess it's just the septic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, good that they come here first, I think in this case, before the ARB, because then, all the issues of conformity have been addressed, and then the ARB can just deal with the standards that they have to deal with.
Now,
So
ARB
I don't see any issues here.
ARB has a provision that if it's over 3,000 feet, you have to post it and have a public meeting. And I don't know what the gross square footage of this is, but
It's tiny.
I think it's a commendable project in many ways. I would like to start presenting our information to the ARB, if we can do that, just to let ARB know what we in the Harbor Committee are dealing with on a site. So it's not just a pretty series of elevations that the ARB looks at, but there's actually, dimensioned information that's critical to this whole process. And I think this is an example of a project that's worked really hard. The pool is 210 square feet. That's a very modest pool, done right next to the house. There was a pre-existing structure there, so the neighbor, I understand their concern, but my goodness, there was a structure there in the past. I think this is a really commendable project.
I agree.
But please try to get the information that we've just gone through and present that to the ARB if in fact you have to go to the ARB.
As far as procedure from a practical standpoint, the ARB requires a lot more actual data with respect to the the actual house.
Yeah.
You're looking at a footprint and some very basic information. If we had had to go to the ARB first, we would have had to have to design the house and then completely redesign the house in order to get Harbor Committee approval. So from my perspective, it makes a lot more sense to get Harbor Committee approval well before you get ARB approval, because the footprint changed dramatically here. It's basically, it's a different house than when we first came to you.
And yes, and that's my point, which I keep emphasizing, is that the ARB needs to look at how you've worked within the dimensional regulations of the Harbor Committee to create your geometry. Because they can say to you, move this here or that there, but you are working under some really specific constraints that I hope you communicate to them. Graphically.
Well, I don't think
And I know you made, I think it was a motion, but if you could just make that subject to addressing the letter that dated, I think, March 3rd from NPV that Susanna is aware of. I'd like you to add that so that we have those matters taken care of.
So we'd like to make a motion to have Chick draw up a decision here on this application with reference to the letter of March 3rd. Is that what you want? Yes?
Yes, subject to satisfactorily addressing the items in the letter.
Right, subject to satisfactorily addressing the items that were the subject of that letter. May I have a motion for that, please?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, thank you, Lily. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Will. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So we'll have this application on the next Harbor Committee meeting under decision, and that is, for the record, April 1st.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good work.
Yeah.
Thanks. Have a great night.
Good night, Susanna.
Thanks, Susanna.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 29 Harding Terrace. Is there somebody here to speak to that application?
I'm sorry, just to interrupt. I'm going to recuse myself from this.
Because you're a neighbor, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Will.
All right. So Kate, you're definitely a voting member here. So there is somebody here to speak to 29 Harding Terrace?
Correct.
Yes, Kelly Rosado. Can everyone hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Sweet. I remember having the issues last month.
Right. You were on your phone. Yes.
Yes. No,
Much
I don't
better,
know.
Kelly.
Yeah, I'm glad nothing changed. Just happened to work this time, so that's good. I'm going to share my screen here.
Okay, let me, sure, give me 1 minute, Kelly, and I'll let you in. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so can everyone see this? Just an aerial photo that shows the site and the neighborhood, just so everyone can kind of get their bearings again. This one, I believe, is from September 2019. And really, I just wanted to show it again, to get your bearings on the neighborhood, on the site, and kind of what's going on around the adjacent properties. Then this next one is an aerial that's from New York State GIS Clearinghouse. This is a winter 2020 aerial. Usually they're flown, I believe, in March or April. I forgot to look up the date, but this one really, I wanted to point out, you can more clearly see the characteristics of the neighborhood, the pools, the houses, proximity to wetlands and everything like that. Again, just to get your bearings on the property. The property is all the way on the northeast corner here, 29 Harding Terrace. So following the meeting last month, I did go through and check, overlaid the survey on this 2020 GIS Clearinghouse aerial that shows the proposed addition, shows the wetland boundaries, which I digitized here in a bold green, so they'd be very easy to see. And then ran a buffer tool to just show everyone basically the entire site is within 75 feet of the wetland boundary. So I know there was a question about trying to configure this proposed addition and the pool to maybe meet the setback, and it's just not possible. I would like to point out it's nice that we have this recent aerial in the winter, that the proposed addition and pool is approximately in line with the one adjacent west, which was approved. Well, actually, I shouldn't say approved, constructed in 2017, looking at the Google Earth aerials. And I know there were some questions about whether it was approved under the revised wetlands chapter. That was updated in 2015, I believe. And so I would not imagine that they would have waited multiple years to build the pool. I would imagine it would have been approved under the current code, but I don't have a copy of the permit. I will say that. But they're approximately in line. That was really what I wanted to point out. I'm going to kind of be short and to the point tonight. I prepared this table, which I'll see if I can get the whole slide up here, to kind of just give an overview of the project and just kind of lay it out. So what's being proposed is an approximately 360 square foot, sorry, addition with a pool that's a 20 foot by 9 foot pool that'll be on the second story, the second level of the addition. Below that at ground level will be the pool equipment and storage and things like that. The addition is proposed in the location of the existing sanitary system. So we are relocating the sanitary system and making all kinds of site improvements as a result of the proposed addition. So with the site design on the survey I showed in the last slide, just wanted to point out a few things. First, impervious lot coverage. The existing lot coverage is 3,255 square feet and proposed is 3,007 square feet. So even though we have the addition, they are removing some structures. I can slide back up here to the survey. They're reconfiguring the driveway. They're removing a shed and portions of things on the side here. There's a brick walkway here that'll be removed. So the impervious lot coverage is actually decreasing with this project. The minimum wetland setbacks for the structures, the pool is proposed at 52.1 feet from the wetlands. The existing minimum wetland setback is actually 26.4 feet for the deck, and the house is 32.1 feet from the wetland boundary. So the addition is 23 feet closer than the required 75 feet. That's why, you know, that's over on the far right column of impact of the application. However, again, the impervious lot coverage goes down. The new sanitary system will increase wetland setbacks 5.5 feet with the minimum wetland setback. And actually, because it's being relocated to the front yard on the southwest corner of the lot, it's increasing 98 feet from Sag Harbor Bay. So it's a pretty big jump there. The minimum setback from the wetlands on both the existing and the proposed is actually on the wetlands on the east side of the property. The design of the sanitary system, it is the new innovative and alternative on-site wastewater treatment systems. The owner actually has applied for and received approval for a grant, a septic improvement grant for the project. It has been designed with the leaching pools 2 feet above groundwater. The existing sanitary system is standard cesspools. I don't know what their elevation is above groundwater, if there is any, but the proposed is the new nitrogen treatment system. Next, stormwater management. This project will incorporate the addition of dry wells to treat and store rainfall from a 2-inch rainfall event. runoff from a 2-inch rainfall event, I should say. And there is a pool dry well also proposed as required to handle 10% of the volume of the pool. It's actually going to handle much more than 10%. It just happened to be that way with the size of the pool and the size of the dry well. So we are providing about 338 cubic feet of storage, runoff storage. And then finally, we are proposing a significant buffer. The buffer plans I don't have up. I can try to get them on the screen, but essentially, as you see on the survey, the non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer will be 50 feet from the wetland boundary along Sag Harbor Bay. And then on the east side is essentially, as close to the walk as we can make it to maximize the buffer. The buffer will be planted. That east side is going to be planted largely with shrubs, baccharis, and then there will be some bayberry and beach plum on the north side. There is some existing vegetation that's there that is in the buffer already that will remain undisturbed. And then the entire buffer area, in addition to being planted with shrubs, will be seeded with native herbaceous species. So right now there's about 1,960 square feet of vegetation on the north side of the house. Not much on the east side. There are a few trees here and there, but largely that's clear vegetation. And the buffer proposes an overall total of 4,010 square feet. So it's an increase of over 2,000 square feet of buffer area with vegetation that will help, to protect the tidal wetlands both on the north and east sides. So basically, we're asking for 23 feet of relief on the setback here, and giving a new sanitary system, new stormwater management system, a new vegetated buffer, increasing wetland setbacks, and decreasing lot coverage. I think that this is a very strong application for that. It's a minor addition. We have gotten our DEC approval, copies of which were sent to the village. And at this point, we're just waiting on the board to take a look and hopefully approve the application. There's really not much more in the way of mitigation that we can propose. And again, it's a small addition. It's 360 square feet. So that's it. Like I said, I wanted to try to be short and quick and to the point. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. And if you need me to pull up a different picture, let me know.
Chick, you have some thoughts on this? Oh, Lily?
Has the addition been approved by anyone ahead of us?
The DEC, this has approved it.
Any of the building, the ARB, any of those guys?
They can't, I don't know whether or not we need to go to ARB, and building can't approve it until we have wetlands, so.
Chick, you have some comments, or who was that? Herb, were you going to speak?
Herb, will you?
Or John, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a question from the last meeting. There was a question as to whether a variance was needed for the pool, and it was stated that someone was going to check with the building department to see if that was an issue.
I think Fred got back to us and said that it's.
Yeah, just to refresh, I mean, the idea is with the swimming pool is in a front yard, and that determination actually was made by Tom before he left, so I spoke with him about it. And it doesn't need a variance because it's not in a front yard. It is on top of the proposed addition. So it's actually part of the principal building, and it is not in a yard. It is part of the building. So it under the way the code is drafted, it's not in a front yard. So it does not need a variance. And that was Tom's determination.
That's what I thought you were going to say, and I just wanted to get it on the record at the meeting. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Marianne,
Yeah,
do we have any elevations or sections through the pool addition? Just to get a better sense of how that is going to be constructed? Do we have anything on that?
We do. There was a section provided, I believe, on the site plan.
That's something
Yes.
you can put up on the screen?
I will try. Bear with me here. I have to open it up. So this
So
is the profile here. This is facing south toward the proposed addition, but basically looking from the bay to the house.
Right.
I'm still seeing a footprint. Is that what you were looking for, her? You were looking
No,
for,
I don't think the profile is up yet.
oh,
Can you see, are you seeing this section or are you seeing?
No, still seeing the
seeing
site
the
plan.
same thing.
All right, sorry, my screen shows like the east-west section at the proposed addition. It's on the Croxton Collaborative Architects drawing A001. If I don't know if everyone has that copy. I'm trying to think of how.
Just having a hard time putting my hands on the hard copy right now for some reason.
Sorry, I know, and I'm I had to go onto the network computer at work to pull it up, and I don't know. I'm not sure why it's not. I mean, showing.
But the pool structure is supported by it's designed with pilings or how?
Yes.
Can you just
That's
briefly
correct,
describe
yes.
what that? And is the area underneath the pool? So the invert of the pool, the depth of the pool will actually be above grade?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Like I said, let me see if I can email this plan to myself and then try to pull it up on my screen here.
Could I just ask a quick question?
Yeah.
And then I don't mean to interrupt, or I can wait till you're finished with her, whichever you
No, not
prefer.
at all. Go ahead, please.
If you look at the picture we're looking at right now, you have the high tide water over on the side by Barcelona Neck on the sandbar, and you have water running through it. When I walk down that beach every day, if you're looking right where the cursor is and that scrub is, often if I walk to the end, you have to clamber and you barely cling to that side when the tide is high. And I have to say, I walk Havens Beach pretty much every day. So you have the high tide across the channel.
But that's actually that is a flood zone line, not a tide line. The
But you're
high
talking water.
the mean high water line is actually on the survey out here at the
Well, that's across a channel.
At
I
the
mean,
edge
isn't
of
that
the-
an issue? And if you look right at the edge where that purple zone is, that's the scrambling area, and it's been interfered by shadow, so it makes it sort of pull out further to the north.
Right.
But that whole area that's water, and that's about 3 feet deep. At low tide, at a severe low tide, maybe you can get across. No, I don't think you can.
No.
So you're showing us high tide across a channel onto a sandy zone across the way.
I'm going to be honest with you. This is the first time it's come up.
I'm looking at it because I looked and I've been down there and I thought, golly, it's so much closer, like that's 40 or 50, 40 feet off
There we go.
from the actual drop down, and you've got a 4 to 5 foot drop. And then you scramble, and literally you only have 6 inches of sand at a regular tide.
I don't even walk past it because it's so,
It's hard to walk to. You have to actually time it because it's so pretty. If you get a very low tide, you can walk out and you see the whole preserve, and
right.
it's lovely. But sorry, that's showing us, I don't think channels should be included in the high tide. I mean, that's perfectly got water there.
I agree with you, Lily. Chick, do you have some comments on this application?
Yeah, I can perhaps shed a little light on Lily's comment as well. Kelly, could you let me share the screen?
Absolutely. Let me stop. Yep.
Well, actually, well,
Oh,
we can
or
go
do you-
back to that if we need to. Okay.
Okay.
So what Lily's referring to is this is the channel for Little Northwest Creek. It's, you know, over the years, Little Northwest Creek at some point in time was more straight because of littoral processes and the east to west littoral drift. A sand spit is formed here. And so all of Little Northwest Creek empties and fills through this channel. And 29 Harding Terrace is at the end of Harding Terrace and is adjacent to the wetlands associated with Little Northwest Creek. You can see these old mosquito ditches. I flagged the wetlands and they are accurately shown on the survey. Basically, when you come to the road end at Harding Terrace, you're in the wetlands and they follow along the east part of the property. There's a higher portion of the property, kind of a finger to the east. And then the wetlands are
But
really,
that's not their property. That's not the lot that you just said, that higher portion, right?
that's, well, let's see if I can,
Is there only like 35, I think.
And
What's
there
the
is an
setback
effect
on
also.
the setback on the house isn't,
I'm not, I don't seem to be able to get the property boundary, but yes, it is beyond the property.
yeah, right.
Finger, this finger over here. But I'm really referring to the environmental conditions.
Yeah, well,
Come
that's what I was
across
just
with
saying.
the-
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
come across with the channel. So this, I mean, I would call this an extremely sensitive piece of property from the standpoint of the wetland regulations. We had pointed out that, let me just see if I'm able to go to a new share. Bear with me. This is a little different than the diagram that Kelly had, but it's the survey that's on file. So the plans are shown off the property in this location and then wrapping around
Hey, Chick,
to
we're
these.
getting a
slabs.
lot of reverberation from you. Do you have your cell phone on or something near the computer?
I
I'm
don't,
not sure. Oh, all right,
I'm not sure either.
okay.
So at least in recent times, the Harbor Committee has looked for, you know, real efforts to comply with the setbacks contained in Chapter 285. Those are specified in 285-9. And under 9D, there are certain parameters for review of these types of projects. Because of the sensitivity of this site and the fact that Kelly had identified, and I'm in agreement with, that there's really no other parts of the property that allow a 75-foot setback to be met, it's very difficult to envision an application that would be consistent with the parameters for Chapter 285-9D. The current application does propose an addition. It looks like a reconfiguration of the house, which is roughly in this footprint, but it is decreasing setbacks. So while there are some beneficial aspects with respect to drainage, an IA system, some changes in coverage, some of the coverage going down because of driveway and other configurations, and some restoration, We do have a proposed structure that's 52.1 feet from the wetlands at this part on the north part of the property, and many areas that are much less than the required setbacks from the wetlands to the east of the property, particularly this 32.1 foot setback. We didn't really get into this at the last meeting because we wanted to address the matter having to do with if a ZBA variance was needed. But those comments would have come up at the last meeting, just that it really almost seems like the property is maxed out, and something that decreases setbacks would be atypical for things that the Harbor Committee has approved or even entertained recently. So those are the comments that I wanted to share, and I'm certainly here to help with any other questions.
Dick, what's the decrease in setback on the east side of the house?
If Kelly could put that table back up again, I'm not sure if that had it. Let me let you take over.
I think it probably did.
I think now this house would never be built.
And I can't even fathom that they would allow this addition in the first place.
Well, again, the reason, the setback on the east side of the house is 32.1 feet to the house and 26.4 feet to the deck. So if you're looking at it from a minimum wetland setback, we're not getting any closer to the wetlands because the structures already are closer to the wetlands. Are we getting closer to the wetlands on Sag Harbor Bay? Yes.
But you don't, with a 26.4 foot setback, you don't even need the 50-foot setback.
But that's those are existing structures that have been there for, well, I actually don't even know when they were built, a very long time ago. So I guess, like I said, the question is this addition and the 23 feet that we're asking for worth a new upgraded sanitary system that will have very beneficial impacts on wetlands and water quality with the nitrogen treatment? Is it worth stormwater management and containing, storing and treating runoff as opposed to having it run directly into the wetlands? Again, impacting water quality and the wetland quality. Is it worth 2,000 square feet of buffer that will be planted with native vegetation and left undisturbed at that point, where right now it's cleared, there's lawn there, and that's the way it's been for, again, a really long time. And is it worth that decrease in the impervious lot coverage? I think it is. I mean, it's a small addition. We're not asking for an entire house here. We're asking for 360 square feet. They're planting and giving up over 2,000 additional square feet for the buffer. They're putting in an entire new sanitary system, again, a stormwater management system. I mean, they're going above and beyond, and without it, you don't have any of that beneficial impacts, the benefits to the wetlands. They're trying to do everything they can to protect the wetlands, given the lot circumstances and where it's located, and the fact that there are wetlands on two sides.
I think I kind of take issue with that a bit, because what they really could do is develop their plans within the present footprint. I have the same feeling that Lily does, because I walk that piece of property. I think, John Parker certainly knows that piece of property. We're all aware of what's happening with Little Northwest Creek, and it just kind of takes me aback to think about putting any more structures on that piece of property. Anybody else have a comment?
Well, the structures themselves, though, are not impacting the wetlands.
Well,
the sanitary system is, the runoff is, the nitrogen loading is, the cleared lawn area is. the
Well,
structures, they will not. They're about in line with, again, with the adjacent pool to the west.
Well, the adjacent pool to the west is irrelevant. I mean, it's kind of historic to take a look to see why. Oh, I'm getting reverb now too. I'm sorry about that. Why that was built and under what law it was built. But it's kind of irrelevant to where we are now. And the whole law is kind of premised on the fact that structures are a problem for wetlands. That's why we have setbacks. So I'm not sure if that's really what you meant to say, but I'm just trying to counter the idea that having a structure there isn't a problem. I think it is a problem.
May I say something?
Of course.
I'm a little offended that you're giving us a survey that shows high tide line, that's the high tide of the opposite shore. Also, I don't know, maybe that's just me. I just think that's kind of, you look at it and you see the high tide line, it's the opposite, like I just said. That's all I have to say on that.
I'm not sure why it's shown like that. And again, it's never come up. I don't know if the deed is written in such a manner that that's the line that's there.
Chick, do you have a comment on that?
I think it's an old survey that's not accurately reflecting the environmental conditions of that turn of Northwest Creek.
Right.
Normally, and Chick, maybe you could correct me on this, and Fred either, but having a house that's on the water, down there, when they resurvey, they normally don't change the lot line, and the lot line is to the mean high water mark. So basically, what they're doing is they're picking up the original high water mark line on most of these. Because to do otherwise would take property away that was originally granted. And I agree that you can argue that, okay, the property has maybe the property line has changed as the mean high water mark changes, but they normally don't change the survey back and forth based upon those interim changes in the high water mark. The next question here would be, there's a proposal which has been approved to fill in that section of the channel in front of this house. And Fred could probably give us an update on where that is because he's working on the funding for it. But I don't know how that affects it, but just to be honest, there is a proposal to do that and to put the channel back where it originally was, which would be to the east, slightly to the east of this house.
Well, if I could address, I mean, the whole concept of mean high water, without seeing, how the deed was written, it's kind of hard to, to give an opinion on that. But, and, that does change. If it's mean high water, when that line moves, people can gain property, they can lose property. But, I'm not sure that's critical to the, to the decision that the committee has to make. You asked about where we are with the dredging of Little Northwest Creek, which, by the way, could, as you say, that could change where the mean high water mark is on this property also. And, the update on that is that the last I knew, I know that the state permit was issued. I'm not sure if the Army Corps permit's been issued, but on the funding side, basically, the application for funding has gotten all of its preliminary approvals. Basically sitting in the Department of Budget in their office because the governor has an executive order that's still in effect about not approving any new grant applications, et cetera, during the pandemic, which I expect will loosen up once we do the budget by April 1st. So, I think there's still a fairly high likelihood that project gets done in 2021. And obviously, that will reconfigure the channel and will have some effect on this property.
Right. But I think that whatever we approve here, whatever goes in the ground is going to be there for many, many years, hopefully. And I think this piece of property, you know, could be changing. Yes, it gets dredged, but then we have another big storm and all that could go away.
Well, as I said, I don't think any of that is critical to
Yeah.
the committee's decision on this, but I was asked for an update, so I gave it.
Yeah,
So,
no, I
but I
understand.
think the conditions on the property, Chick spoke to this, and I'll just second it. My notes here, looking at the standards in the code were, the two words that I had scribbled down also were maxed out. And I think that's an accurate description given the standards.
And I'll just add to that, with the recent decisions of the Harbor Committee, you are establishing a precedent based on those decisions, and Fred can speak to that.
Well, I would say this, I will say this, and I think this will explain it. The issues that are presented here under the standards are not dissimilar from the same issues and the same items that the committee raised with regard to 12 Green Street.
Right.
And it's all in good faith what the owner wants to do, and certainly you have made an effort to do all these wonderful things on the property. And that's not a little, it should be
Issue.
noted anyway. But there is the 75-foot setback rule.
And this is a really sensitive piece of land. Hopefully in the future, they'll switch it over to an IA system, given the funding that's still there. And we hope it's in the good conscience of the new owners that they'll do the right thing.
Chick, I got a question for you about the buffer. It looks to me, and I could be wrong, but that part of what is listed as a planted buffer is currently sand right now.
I believe that's true, John.
And I'm wondering, how that is going to be planted without causing, more damage than, in other words, do you bring in topsoil in order to plant a buffer? I mean, nothing's going to grow there, or
Right.
would be growing now, unless unless some topsoil or fertilizer is brought in. So I just question doing a buffer where it's, currently natural sand.
You would have to select the right species, and Kelly can certainly speak to that. She's well qualified in that area. But if you have beach grass, bayberry, beach plum, things like that, they probably will do okay. I'm not sure the exact reason why those areas are barren. Some of them are used, by the homeowner. Some appear to have been subject to erosion potential, whether it be wind or, foot trampling. But I would expect you could get the correct species to establish in those areas.
Well, would they have to be brought in with, pails of topsoil around them? Is that the only way to get them to, to take? Or again, it's just pure sand as far as I can tell from.
No, these
Grass plugs will grow in sand. You might have a bald plum or bayberry that will do okay once it gets established. Again, there are planting techniques. I think I cut you off. You can certainly help out.
Oh no, that's okay. I was going to say the same thing. These species they do grow in sand. There is on the planting plan specification for fertilizer for the shrubs to be put in when they're initially installed to help them take root and grow initially. They're not something that will need to be fertilized over time, because they're all species that grow in this type of habitat, that are found in this type of habitat. So
I don't know, Chick, where do we go? Fred, where do we go from here?
actually, before, I just have one quick thing just to go back. I did pull out a copy of the deed just to take a look and see what it says, with regards to the bearings, distances, high water. And it does provide specific distances and bearings for each one of the sides of the property. So I would assume that that's what the surveyor went on when drawing the property boundaries here, is going on the deed that provides those specific distances. So I just I'm gonna point that out. And I believe a copy of the deed was submitted with the application, and if not, I can certainly provide one if you'd like.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny that they have the edge of beach grass, which is in the water. But we've established that.
Right. Well,
You want to check for public comments, Marianne?
yeah, thank you. Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak to this application?
Yes, hi. My name is Angela Lowe. I'm the adjoining property owner right next door at 27 Harding Terrace. We just bought this house 5-6 months ago, so I'm new to the community and new to all of this discussion about wetlands, but I'm here not to oppose the application, but really to try to understand. And I only became aware of the application from another neighbor yesterday and learned about the meeting. So I wanted to understand, what the proposal is and, what this structure would look like. So the concerns that I had are many that have already been discussed here this evening. I wanted to understand how the dredging of the channel will, how that will impact, this proposed construction, because when we bought the house, we had understood that all the approvals had been granted for the dredging. And I assume that could, as you say, either move the water, closer or further back. And many of you are right, because we walk the beach every day too. And when there's a high tide, sometimes the water is so high, it's virtually impossible to get out of our back gate and down to the beach. So, that was another concern, given the variance that's being requested. And I guess the third concern that I would have is, there's been so much talk about, ecosystems and protecting the bay. How does the oil spill that is the mediation that's currently going on the property, what lasting impact is this going to have on the the waterways, both the bay and the conservation area? Because there's currently a huge remediation and cleanup going on of an oil spill on the property. So
On 29 Harding?
yes, and I know you said that DEC approval was granted, but I think DEC has to come back and inspect once this huge oil spill is cleaned up. So how is that going to impact, this proposed development?
Could I interrupt? I'm unfamiliar with any oil spill that happened.
Me too.
It's not my place to say. Perhaps
Was that the siren?
The applicant should speak to it, but there are trucks out here every day, and there's a huge oil spill cleanup going on. So I'm trying to understand, how that is going to impact, the
Greatly.
and the channel.
Chick, are you aware of this, or Fred, are you aware of this? Where did the oil spill from?
Yeah, I mean, my guess is it is a tank that was on the property.
It's a tank, and it's my understanding that some 275 gallons of oil have spilled.
Yeah, unfortunately, these are all too common. Spills like that do have to be reported to the DEC.
I think they're aware of it.
It sounds like from what Angela's saying, it is being addressed through cleanup. And the typical way to clean up is to remove the sand that contains the oil to the extent that it can be without undermining the foundation of an existing dwelling. It's really a dig it out type of mentality and truck that sand off the site and backfill it with clean material. If it's not possible to get all of it, there are other treatments with oxygen injection to promote bacterial degradation. But there would have to be an oil spill engineer from DEC assigned to this. There would be a remediation contractor engaged, and the spill would be an open spill file until such time as everything that can be done is done to remediate the oil spill. And in many cases, there's ongoing monitoring to look for natural attenuation,
Wow.
as well as I said, oxygen injection for any of those residues that can't be removed to promote bacterial degradation. So I've dealt with many oil spills. That's a generic answer. It is not an answer that's specific to this site. And we may ask Kelly if she's aware of it, and maybe we can get some site-specific information.
I'm not aware of it. No, I can see what I can find out about it, but this is the first that I've heard about it.
But what I said would apply, that I'm sure there's an oil spill engineer assigned from DEC or the health department. They do share these calls, and they will oversee the remediation to get as much cleanup as possible, backfill with clean sand, obviously stop the leak. I'm sure that's been controlled. And it's really just a question of getting the residue out of the ground. In some cases, they do pump groundwater and treat it. In some cases, they expose groundwater and use oil absorbent pads to collect the oil. But my experience is that everything that can be done will be done through the oil spill response requirements of New York State DEC.
So 10 minutes ago, before this started discussing an oil spill, we were already talking about a very fragile piece of property. And now we find it's even more fragile. Did somebody else start to speak?
Yeah, Chair, I just wanted to check if I recall correctly. At one point, oil tanks were allowed to be put in the ground outside of the houses, and now they're required to be put inside. Is that correct?
Well, as far as I know, you can still place a tank, up to 1,200 gallons underground, outdoors.
So they can still be outdoors. Okay, I thought they
Yeah,
had.
there are many requirements for double wall containment, leak monitoring, cathodic protection. Those are all under Article 12 of the Suffolk County Sanitary Code. And it is a very detailed law that seeks to ensure that tanks do not leak. So recent installations are generally good. This case, it must have been installed prior to, probably an old tank, and they do, as I said, sadly fail. And across Suffolk County, many calls are made every day with these types of failures, which is very unfortunate.
So, yeah, so I don't want to give too much weight to this. And I certainly don't want to start bad feeling in a neighborhood. I think that my own feelings about this application were not promising and ran very closely to the report that Chick made. And what Fred Thiel said is that this property is already maxed out. And any of the subsequent information just sort of, makes it worse, but it doesn't change. It doesn't push me over the edge. I think I was already over the edge in terms of saying, this is not a project that should be built, in my mind, under our current wetlands law.
One thing that I can tell you, I came to the village in 2016. I was told that the current law, the new law, recognizes that there are many small lots in the village with existing homes and structures. And the 75-foot setback really tried to take that into consideration as much as possible. And the idea that was communicated to me by my predecessors were that, compliance with the 75-foot is very important because it's less than the town of Southampton. It is coincident with the DEC's requirement for tidal wetlands setbacks of principal structures, and that relief of that should be looked at very carefully and very cautiously.
Hey, Doris, I think Herb lost the connection, so you need to just let him back in.
Okay,
Thanks.
no problem. I don't see him yet.
Oh,
Okay, I see him now. It just admit him. He's
okay. Chick, I think that Herb was gone for part of what it is, and I hesitate to ask you to repeat it, but.
Sorry, thank you. I don't know what happened there. Sorry.
Yeah. Chick, could you kind of summarize the points that you just made? Because I think it's really important as we're kind of collecting our thoughts here.
Yeah, I was not engaged by the village at the time that the new wetland law was adopted, but my predecessors indicated to me that it was very carefully thought out, and it was recognized that there are many small lots in the village that do have existing structures. And it was very important to recognize that a 75-foot setback really considered that. And, you know, relief from that should be looked at cautiously and carefully. You know, that was really part of the inventory, part of the work that was done, and that was communicated to me by my predecessors in this role. Fred may be able to comment further on that because I know he had some history with it as well.
Yeah, I was one of the drafters, so I think you outlined the legislative intent perfectly, and that is, you know, there are a lot of small lots in the village. It was important, though, to try to meet these setbacks first and foremost. And, you know, they were really only to be modified if there was no practicable alternatives, which is why I made the reference to 12 Green Street. And that is looked at in a general fashion. It's not, you know, to specific projects, but in this case, like, you know, a single family dwelling. And so, you know, it's a heavy test to give relief from the setbacks, but that was intentional. That was the intent of the village trustees.
And we just had a meeting with our new building inspector who comes from Up Island. And we mentioned this 75-foot setback. And he said that was nothing. Where he comes from, Up Island, that you could have 100, 125, 150-foot setback, which, like, with reference to these small yards, that would put you kind of in the middle of the street sometimes. You know?
And that's the unique part of the village of Sag Harbor, I think.
Right. So 75 feet is not, you know, in the big scheme of things, is not unreasonable, and it's not a lot. It's what we really cling to. It's what I really cling to as really a way of honoring the thought that's gone into this and honoring the beautiful natural beauty and presence that we live in.
What I'd like to ask is, you know, basically of the applicant, whether they might want to, you know, rethink the plan here. I mean, there are a lot of good features that are being proposed in terms of environmentally positive, and I think there could be some reworking of the plan to increase the setback or at least you know, not to decrease it, so that this would be something that in a modified fashion could be approved, and we would have the benefits of the IA system and increased buffer, et cetera.
So Chip, do you see anything there possible other than working within the footprint that exists right now?
Yeah, the existing house is at such a substandard condition with respect to the setbacks that I think that the existing footprint is important to look at and work within. That's my general feeling. There may be some other way to achieve some of these benefits and still have a reasonable structure on the property, but I think, again, it's going to have to be very carefully thought out, and I would favor the existing footprint.
And what is the setback from the front street to the house? Is there any room there for expansion?
It's
I don't know if
currently
that's front yard or back.
52.9 feet to the house. I'm not sure what the requirement is.
Probably 30 feet.
But that would actually worsen the wetland setback if you were to put structures there, because the way the wetlands,
I mentioned
the
before.
wetland bends
Oh, yeah,
here, it would actually be worse.
you're
So,
right.
In reality, where the addition is proposed is, we did take into account the fact that there are wetlands on two sides of the property, trying to, they are incorporating some of the addition into the existing footprint. This is not a huge house by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it's not a small house either. The existing house footprint is 1,357 square feet. It is a 2-story. For Sag Harbor, I think that, that's a nice sized house. If you look at the, I didn't do a calculation, but if you eyeball it in just the neighborhood shot, it looks like it's about average to small for some of the houses in the neighborhood. And looking at these two to the west, it's certainly smaller than this one.
But it's bigger than a couple of them too. It's sort of,
yeah. But I mean, like I said, when we were contemplating this, we really were trying to maximize the setbacks to, as much as we could. That's why the addition is proposed kind of long and narrow and not across the entirety of the property or anything like that. And knowing that, again, the purple area that's shown on this diagram is the property within 75 feet. So there's no way to get any structures on this site that meet the 75-foot setback. It's not possible. So, there was care taken into that. And again, the fact that they're proposing all of these other mitigation measures, we hoped that would be enough to overcome that 23 feet. If it's not, it's not. It was for the DEC. So it's.
You're not the first one who's had like a green light from the DEC and then have us be sticky or wicket. And I think to the extent that you or your client are coming back with this application again, it's not bad to come in as a discussion item, which is like if you were here when 59 John Street was being discussed, they came in as a discussion item and with some ideas, and they got some feedback from us, which saves some, angst on the part and some money on the part of the client rather than going, the full-blown application. They can get some feedback from us. So where are we? I guess we could vote whether or not we want to approve this or if we want to disapprove it, or the applicant could withdraw it and come back with a different plan. I mean, if they work within the footprint, do they need to come to the Harbor Committee?
Yes, if there's modifications to the property that meet the definition of, help me out here, Fred.
Yeah, because it's not
activity.
They're within the jurisdictional limit no matter what. So, I mean, anything they're going to do here is going to need a permit.
certainly the sanitary system, if it's replaced,
Right.
yeah, just about anything is going to be a regulated
And
activity.
if they don't expand, but they do extensive renovations within the footprint, is that going to trigger the sanitary system? I'm a little hazy now. I should know this cold, but I don't.
You mean from a health department perspective?
Yeah, or even from the Sag Harbor law. I know it's like major significant expansions, renovations. What triggers that sanitary system?
I do not remember offhand. I don't know if Fred's more familiar with that section of the code.
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
So what is it that triggers like the installation of a new IA system? If they were to do extensive renovations within the footprint, is that going to trigger a new IA system?
Well, yeah, I mean, the IA is, the only thing that's pretty much grandfathered is if you had a permit, you had the health department per permit before you came to us, which I probably is not going to be the case with this.
Well, I'm going to again suggest we've had other applicants who have decided to go back, talk to their clients, possibly reconsider and come in with a modified plan. I think the choice is either request a vote now or request an adjournment for possibly submitting a modified plan.
Well, let me ask you a question. Other than going within the existing footprints, is there any alternative that would be approved, could be approved, or are you solely looking for something within the existing footprint?
Well, I think that's going to be case by case here, but for me, I would like to see you work within the existing footprint. So I don't hear anybody else chiming up with a different idea. So I think that's kind of where we're pointing you. And I'm sorry.
I don't know how many of us, want to reveal how we would vote one way or the other, but I mean, I think certainly my impression is that most of the committee would be more favorably impressed if it was within the existing footprint.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something that the owner is looking to do. I can speak with her, but that's not something that, to my understanding, that she's willing to entertain.
I'm
So,
sure she's never even given it a thought because she thought that there were other possibilities. And I'm sorry about that, but I think it's time to have that conversation.
And she probably has a lot on her mind right now.
Yeah, I think the question is whether or not you're asking for the committee to vote today, or whether you want to adjourn it or table it till the next meeting.
you know what, let's table it till the next meeting so I can get a definitive answer from the homeowner, please.
I think that's a great idea. Okay, can I have a motion to table this application until April 1st?
I'll move.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly.
Good night, Kelly.
That was hard. All right, so Chick, I think you're up. We're going to talk about a coastal consistency review for the local law amending Chapter 186, Parks and Recreation, fondly known as the Waterfront Overlay District, correct?
Yes, so this is, you should have received a package of paperwork. If it's at all possible for Eileen to show the coastal consistency document, that would help me a great deal because I just checked and I still do not have a proper connection. But this is a change in the Parks and Recreation law of the village that basically tightens up the how the parks are operated. It's more of a procedural change to the law. It, in our opinion, was all beneficial, just in terms of proper regulation of parks and public facilities. And we went through and identified the various coastal policies that apply, many of which did, but again, really to a minor extent. It's not a physical project, it's more an operational project. So we provided a cover letter that explains that. We provided a coastal consistency review with the LWRP that indicates the various policies and how it does conform. And our overall recommendation is for the Harbor Committee to make a recommendation to the village board that this is consistent with the LWRP. The village board has a hearing coming up and would like to be in a position to move forward. And this is a referral from the village board to the Harbor Committee that's consistent with chapter 275, I believe it is. So that's the overall report. And you have the paperwork and hopefully you had a chance to look at that. It's pretty straightforward. And I'm here if you have any questions.
Was there anything in here that you had to give more thought to than anything else? Anything that is in particular relevant to this, to the LWRP and what we're entertaining here?
Not really.
Okay.
That's a tough question. I mean, am I sharing my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, this is the summary of the amendments to the law. It has to do with park and beach access, littering and dumping, posting of signs, a pretty good bullet list.
Can I ask you something?
It's
Like,
almost, oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
sorry, I've noticed up on Havens Beach, there are now all these signs that are going up saying this is now Shaw Beach, or this is so-and-so's beach. Is that legal?
That's not part of this discussion, Lily.
Sorry, I know.
Really good question. This has to do with the waterfront overlay district.
No, I understand that, but I was just
Right.
looking at this, the part that said about the signs and so forth, and the things to be addressed.
Well, I think that's a good question. And I think Will wanted to talk about Havens Beach at the end of this meeting. So I think that would fit right in with that.
Okay, sorry for interrupting.
No, that's fine.
So Mary, to more directly answer your question, it's not a cop-out, but we honestly had to kind of fit. It's really like a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
Because there's not a physical project, we're not talking about protection of wildlife, protection of wetlands, bluffs, any of the other things, water dependent uses, water enhanced uses. It's not a project, it's a law. So,
Right, but there's certain carve outs for those things like water uses and view shed. I mean, some of the way they're limiting the construction of buildings in different ways with setbacks and stuff in mind, I think speaks to some of these issues.
Yeah, I mean, policy one is foster a pattern of development in the village that makes beneficial use of coastal locations. Certainly parks and public facilities do that. And that's really what we're talking about, are public facilities. So there's a presumption that they're in the right place, that they're water dependent, that they enhance your enjoyment of the waterfront and the coastal zone, which
So,
really the entire.
Let me ask you this. So like on policy 4, minimize loss of live structures and natural resources from flooding and erosion. So have you had an opportunity? I mean, I went to that one meeting that they had for the various committee heads, and it went by pretty fast. I have no idea really like what kind of thought they've given to minimizing flooding and erosion. Are they planning a bulkhead, or is there any bulkheads going in here? I don't know the answer to that question, actually.
It's not contemplated by these amendments to chapter 186. It would be a separate action. And these are just more in the operational aspects of parks and recreational facilities in the village.
So maybe I don't understand what the change is, and I'm sorry if I'm like dragging this out, but maybe I don't understand what the local law amending chapter 186 is. This isn't like looking at the overall overlay district. This is, do we have the actual code change here in this packet that you gave me? I'm
I
sorry.
believe it was attached. I don't have it in this particular file. And if Eileen can get that to me, I'd be happy to put it up.
It says there's an attachment, but it's not attached, I don't believe, at least.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Amending everything, the new amendments.
Yes.
It's after the all the checked off consistency stuff, the back of the packet.
Well, not on mine. I have policy 11, and then I have 3.0 recommendations, 4.0 is conclusion, and then we have the signature page.
Oh. Oh, I've got the whole chapter 275 waterfront consistency review amending chapter 186.
Right, but do you have the amendment to chapter 186?
Yeah, I've got chapter 186 amendments, consistency assessment.
Well, the consistency assessment is something else. Where do you actually see the code change that they're talking about?
I see policies.
Those are that's part of the LWRP review that Chick did.
Okay.
So, but the actual law, it says the purpose of the code, this is from Chick. All we have is Chick's memo. We don't, I don't see that I have, please find a cover letter, coastal assistance from LWRP recommendation, but I don't see, and I don't think I have the actual law that we are reviewing from the LWRP point of view. Does anybody else have that?
I don't have my LWRP with me either.
No, but it's not the
No,
LWRP.
it's the actual changes to chapter 186. It should have been attached, and I'm looking to try and bring that up for you.
Okay, right. We want to see what Chick was looking at, and he was testing it, against the LWRP to see whether or not it conformed, whether or not we have a consistent law here in the eyes of the LWRP. And I don't know what the law is. I thought it was somehow, I was thinking vaguely that it had to do with the waterfront overlay district. But I haven't seen a law that's the code change.
Thus far, the best I can do is the summary that I provided, which was taken directly out of the law. If we're able to pull up the law itself, I will be happy to do that.
Well, where do you have your summary?
It's in section 2 of the coastal consistency recommendation. So it's new definitions that provide greater clarity and understanding of the requirements and creation of new regulations relating to park and beach access, littering and dumping, posting of signs that are not approved.
No, I see that, but where's, all right, so here, 275, blah, blah, blah. 186 amendments. The proposed amendments address various topics related to public parks and beaches in the village, including but not limited to new definitions that provide greater clarity relating to I guess I'd like to see the actual suggested code change. Is there like great hurry and pressure to sign off on this tonight?
I believe the village is intending to proceed. And it's, that is within their authority because it is a referral from the Harbor Committee.
Well, they, I think we established that they don't have to pay attention to our our referrals or not, but I don't see how I can. I mean, it's like, this is all describing something that I can't see. It's on the other side of a wall or a fence. And number one, I'm not sure what the law is exactly. And then number two, I'm not sure what the suggested changes are. And I don't know if I can call Denise or not. I can try, but
Chick, let me ask you a question. Chick, if I'm looking at these issues seem to be things that are contained in a number of different laws. So I'm not clear which laws are being amended.
Exactly. Fred, can you help us? Can you pull up this 186? Do you have it?
I can pull up the existing law. I don't have the proposal.
Right. You know what? I'm going to see. Well, you know what? Yeah. I'm going to see if I can get it, but maybe what we could
Help
do
desperately.
is,
You go on the network and should be having that coming up momentarily. No?
Herb, how is Jack? Oh, you're on mute.
Jack is good. He's warm. He's in
Oh, good.
sunnier climes.
Oh, is he?
He is.
Nice.
How's your little guy?
He's good. He's curled up. I got him a little sheepskin rug that he loves, so he cuddles up on that.
Oh, sweet.
He's good. We've been down at the beach quite a bit.
Really?
Are you north or south?
I'm north.
Nice. And Jack is south.
I actually have hard copies of everything today.
I've walked by your house and I check for footprints and tire tracks during the snowy season.
I hope you didn't find too much activity.
No, initially I saw tire tracks.
Yeah.
The last snow I didn't.
Yeah.
So Chick, how did you do the consistency review without the code changes? You have them on a different computer or something?
We have them and I did see them and that's how we reviewed it. Obviously, I do have staff that helps with some of these items
Right,
that provided a detailed review that's contained in our report.
right.
And I'm on the phone with technical help to bring up the actual law.
I've started to walk a lot along Barcelona Neck and heading out there, and it's always interesting to see Havens from that view, a different viewpoint.
So I've got the mayor, I'm texting her. She says, what is 186? So that's the Parks and Recreation, right? Which is local law on parks and recreation. We could take a break here. You've got somebody looking for it, Chick. I have somebody looking for it. Maybe we could review the minutes and use the time.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. John, you want to lead us through the various minutes that we have to review?
Gotta give me a minute here.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to just stand up and get something to drink. I'll be right back. You ready, John?
Not quite, but
Okay.
first let me ask, does everybody have copies of the minutes that we're referring to?
I have at hand, I have February and I have October. And I went looking for the other months and I was unable to find them. But I didn't, I mean, they're here, but I cannot put my hands on them.
Because what I have is copies of the draft copies of the minutes, and I have recommendations that I sent to Doris. I'm not aware that any went out with the corrections, and it may be that February did.
She just sent February and October out today. I happened to be at Village Hall, so I asked her to print it out for me because my printer's kind of a mess.
Okay, so hold on.
Marianne,
Yes.
it's Doris. I have a copy of the local law. Beth just email it to me. Do you want to see that? I can share the screen.
Well, I think what we really need is a copy of the proposed changes, because that's what we're reviewing.
Right.
So we kind of need to have like side by
I think that's
side.
what Doris may have.
Yes. That's what I'm going to show you what I have.
We're
Okay,
trying to get Denise to see if she will explain it. I do have the law. I had it displayed before, and it should be the same as what Doris is putting up now.
Do you see it?
Yeah, that's it. That's the
And Doris,
form
why
for it.
don't you email it to everyone as well?
Okay.
well, if it's up on the screen, I don't need it. I don't know, whatever.
Do you see it?
I do, I see the, yes. So is this the marked up copy that's got the changes written in it?
It'll have the strike through of
Yeah,
what
strike through.
deleted and underlining of what is being proposed as the new changes.
Okay. So,
I mean, I think you will find, and we did look at this. It really is all operational. It's speaks to conduct, not defacing signs. As Doris scrolls through, you'll get a sense that it's very consistent with what I reported before.
all right, so stop, Doris.
Okay.
And this is precipitated by the chief of police.
At their recommendation.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's what it says at the top here.
Oh,
Do you want me to scroll back?
Yeah, just a little bit. It says at the, I mean, Chick probably knows this. I'm just reading it. At the request of the chief of
I
police,
saw that.
more comprehensive regulations governing the use of public parks and beaches to ensure the orderly use of the facilities. So I guess we're not really being asked to opine on whether or not we agree with these changes, only whether or not they in any way are inconsistent with the LWRP, correct, Chick?
That's correct.
So yeah, you could email this to me. I'm kind of interested to know what they're cooking up. But all right, so
Hey, Chick, can you just maybe give a sense of what the impetus for this is? I mean, why the chief of police is kind of requesting this? And is there any kind of background on this that you could share with us?
I don't know the exact impetus. As I said, we're seeing if Denise might be available. This was a referral, so it's the intent of the trustees of the village to implement the change based on the recommendation of the chief of police to address existing operational and conduct issues within the beaches and parks of the village of Sag Harbor.
okay, so hang out here. Applicability, ownership and authority over certain beach areas within the boundaries of the village of Sag Harbor in an effort to provide uniform rules and regulations. So now they're promulgating following rules and regulations with respect to all beach areas within the boundaries. Okay.
When you get down to the actual content beyond the definitions, I mean, it's really prohibiting those activities that are offensive, misconduct.
you know, I don't know if it's in here, but there's a big debate about whether Havens Beach is a dog walking beach or not. I'm in favor of it, but that doesn't really matter because the signs say no dogs. And I don't know, you know, there's rumors, but every day there are dog walkers. Is there anything in here that talks about that?
All right, so stop. All right. All right, we're not gonna deface, injure, remove, or tamper with any village sign, snow fence, flagging. We're not gonna litter.
Yeah, this is pretty generic stuff.
Can't disturb birds nesting on the beach.
Okay, I like that.
you can't construct anything without getting a harbor committee permit.
This summer, they're going to reinstitute the drive-in theater deal.
No,
And-
they're not. They're not going to do it on Havens.
Oh, they canceled it?
They're going to do some kind of mobile vehicle and they're probably going to do it at Marine Park.
Ah, that's good.
Yeah. Bird nesting. All right.
I have to say, I had one of the village employees say, oh, it's fine to drive on the beach, which I was surprised at because I noticed tire tracks. They said, oh, no, you can't drive in the dog park.
There are tire tracks there too. Okay. All right. No, you can't sleep there overnight in fighting or violent, tumultuous.
But then
threatening
here,
behavior.
that's contradictory. Look at number H. No, oh, no, no person shall intentionally, sorry.
Yeah,
And obstruct.
right. Oh, so here, no person shall
Tumultuous.
ride, walk, or otherwise allow or permit a horse, dog, cat, or other animal to be in or upon a protected, bird nesting, sorry. No animals on the beach. Okay, there we go.
Hold it a second.
Hold it right there. The bold print is Havens.
This shall not include the meadow area of Haven Beach situated where dogs are permitted.
Landward of the beach grass. So that's
So-
the confusion.
Well,
It's a
then
shame
look
you
at,
can't ride a horse.
but on number one, I guess dogs are going to be allowed before 9 o'clock. Is that right?
That's what it sounds like.
That's good to know.
I like that.
Yeah.
And May 15th to September 15th.
All right, so it says no person, blah, 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 between, or permit a dog between the hours of 9 and 6. And that's only from May to September.
Right.
This is pretty decent.
I like that.
Is manually restrained within this area. Oh, I like off leash. Shall not include the meadow area. Okay, that's good. Where dogs are permitted subject to regulations set forth herein. What kind of question, any person permit upon. Okay.
I think those signs at Havens, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they say no dogs on the beach.
They do.
They don't say when.
No, I think those signs are inconsistent with this law.
Oh, this is proposed. This isn't
Right.
passed yet.
The
Right.
signs are inconsistent with the current law.
Right.
Because the current law of dogs being allowed on Havens Beach or in Municipal Park, their dogs not, it says dogs are not allowed, and it's something like the weekend before Memorial Day to the weekend after Labor Day. It's not all year.
I think that's the same thing that we just read.
Yeah. So who put that?
Well, I'm saying it's a separate law, though. I mean, you're imposing one law on. If I'm not clear here, this is not amending. This does not specifically amend the law that's currently in effect that governs dogs on Marine Park or Havens Beach.
So
It
remind me,
doesn't say it's amending that section.
what is all this underlining? I sort of thought that was like new
Or is
verbiage.
that to be changed?
That should be what's proposed.
They're defining
Okay.
everything more clearly. seems to
Okay.
me.
All right, so what are the penalties?
I think they should allow horses.
Oh, wait, $5,000. Wow. Okay. Wow, this is a lot about animals. Temporary closure, we're more than halfway through. Okay.
Joyce, go.
Okay.
Well, it says the signs, that maybe that's what you were talking about, Lily, all the Shaw residents and the
Yeah, and now
the
there's a
estate
whole,
signs down there, Nineveh.
but then
private
there's
beach.
another, besides Shaw Beach, now there's another beach that's popped up.
Mhm.
And I understand,
go.
I've had people try and stop me from walking on the beach in the summertime.
I have two.
So this is a question. What is Havens Beach? Is Havens Beach an area that's down there by the beach with the lifeguard and where the sailing boats are? Or does this apply to the whole strip of beach going down to Little Northwest Creek?
Right. Good question. Also, what is, well, it doesn't matter.
Fred, do you understand what this is applying to? Does this go all the way down to Little Northwest Creek?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm seeing this for the first time, so.
Well, it does conceptually below mean high tide.
Right, but what's,
The access in the Sands community are debatable. They're very different than Havens, where you can just park and walk in. The Sands communities have restrictions, but below mean high tide, it's public.
right, but I don't know that that's considered Havens Beach.
It's
Well,
not.
it's village property though. Isn't
It's
that what?
state property. It's
State property.
Yeah, it's not Havens Beach, Marianne.
Yeah, so these laws don't apply after you go past John Parker's house.
It's John's fault.
They don't apply at my
I
house
think the
either.
distinction between beaches and village beaches, I can see that, but, and that beaches seem to be all beaches that are not beaches that are owned by the village, like Havens, so.
Well, Fred, what I'm unclear on, and I'd have to go back to the front here. There's a definition at the beginning about Havens Beach, and I'm not clear. And then there's some reference to any beaches, and I'm not clear what is intended to apply to Havens Beach, other beaches that may be other village beaches.
Well, I think they're thinking about Windmill Beach and maybe the John Steinbeck Park Beach.
Yeah.
And does this include Nineveh, Azarest?
Nope.
No.
No.
No, that's not village property.
Right.
So somehow the dogs have to fly over Havens Beach in the summertime and land at Azurest Beach and then.
Okay. So what else? Can you keep paging down? Restrictions?
It's a good one about remote controlled model boats. I'm glad to hear
That would be fun actually on Otter Pond.
that.
That would be fun to have, little model boat races.
Yeah, my son's into that stuff. Let's see.
Okay, so getting back to what
Non-liability of village board.
finished here, yeah. So from the LWRP, I can't even, I mean, is it restricting use? I don't think it's restricting use in a way that's problematic to the LWRP. Does anybody think it is?
Seems pretty common sense.
Right.
No, it doesn't limit access except for dogs between
No, it doesn't
September,
And
maybe
horses.
right.
infringe on anybody's rights.
Right.
No. All right. So, well, I feel a little better that I know what we're discussing. And, I paged through this before what, Nelson Pope did. And I'm happy with it. Does anybody else have a question? Does anybody feel that they need to roll this over, need more time to look at it and digest it?
Well, I'd like to at least have a day to look at the you know, the actual law here, if that could be sent, if a copy of that could be sent out.
Isn't it on the website?
The underlying, well,
I
yeah,
looked and I didn't see it under the proposed laws on the website, but
well, these are, what you just saw is the changes, and you can get that sent to you tonight by Doris. But you can find the basic 186 should be up there under the village code.
186 now is very basic.
Right.
This does provide a lot of what I see as beneficial improvements to the, again, operations and conduct at beaches in the village. I do believe the board has a hearing on March 9th.
Right.
That's correct.
I think it may be their intention to proceed.
Right.
And again, you know, it's not mandatory to provide the referral, but I didn't see anything that was inconsistent with the LWRP. I think there's probably interest on the part of, you know, members of the community to understand what's being proposed. But from the standpoint of the LWRP, as Lily said, you know, it's common sense operational clarifications.
It makes policing of it easier if it's written down someplace.
Somebody certainly needs to clarify the signs at Havens Beach about the quadrupeds.
Right. Well, once we get this law passed, then maybe we can, like, you know, say, well, by the way, what do you think about those signs? Can we get rid of those signs?
As long as they don't put a picture of my dog.
one thing that's a problem here, and this has been a problem in the village before, is if you pass a law which has certain rules and restrictions, if it's conflicting with another village law, then it doesn't clarify things. It you know, it mucks them up. And so that's why I'd like to look at the, you know, one of the reasons why I'd like to look at the details of what's proposed. Because you have other sections, you have other sections of the law which are to the same issues.
John,
Yeah.
I don't know that that's relevant to an LWRP review. I agree with you, but you might want to, from, you know, your legal background, you might want to look at the law and what's there and what it might be, you know, contradicting, and go to the meeting and make those points. But
Well,
I don't know that they're relevant to an LWRP review, are they?
Well, again, without a little more review, I can't say whether something's consistent or not consistent.
Okay.
Here. I mean, I just, if Doris could email this and I'll, you know, take a look at it, and by the, you know,
I just
by the
did.
weekend.
But isn't it also true that we have an attorney and an environmental consultant that is supposed to advise us as to whether or not it's consistent or not? Can't we rely on their opinion on this?
Well, I think I am to a great extent. And I feel, I respect what John's saying, and John can abstain, but I feel that I could vote on this and say that I'm comfortable with this coastal consistency review on this proposed code changes to chapter 186.
Has Denise looked at this? I would imagine she has.
I think Denise
Probably wrote
wrote
it.
She's intimately familiar with
Sure
this.
wrote it.
Yeah.
Well, then I vote to pass this.
And if I'm voting, I vote also.
Yeah.
I agree.
Marianne, I
Yes.
just
And
want to let
Ron?
you know.
Yeah.
Okay, I just sent the local law. Okay,
Yeah, it did come through. Thank you.
Okay.
you're
All
welcome.
right.
John just left. I think.
But
I
in
took-
an effort not to hold things up.
Yeah.
I would like a motion to approve this coastal consistency recommendation as put forth by, you know, Chick Voorhees and company. And John, I totally understand if you want to abstain, and then you can, I don't know, add your vote later, or just want to abstain.
I'm just suggesting that we hold the vote till tomorrow, till everybody's had a chance to read through it.
No, I'm ready to go.
I think we just read through it, John. You know,
Well,
didn't we? I thought,
To my mind, I'm okay with it. I'm not going to spend more time on it.
Okay, is the chairwoman asking for a vote, a motion?
Need
Yes.
a motion.
I so move.
Okay.
I
Second.
second.
Okay.
I
All in
second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm opposed.
Okay. All right. So now the thorny issue of if we can even make any progress at all on getting some of these minutes approved.
Now
It's
that you've totally
embarrassing.
pissed off John Parker, I don't know if you're gonna luck on that, but
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop sharing this screen, correct?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, my question is, I'm not clear what everybody else on the committee has before them in terms of.
Okay, does everybody have the February minutes?
Mhm.
Will says yes. Herb, do you have the February minutes?
I am like struggling a little bit with the paperwork here.
Okay.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to thank John Parker because he did an excellent job editing the minutes that I drafted. Thank you, John. And yes, the minutes were emailed, let's see, November, December's, and January's. Those were emailed and they were tabled at the last meeting. The amended minutes were emailed. So the board members can review and then ready to vote for this month, tonight's meeting. And February 4th minutes were also sent, emailed today. And there's a hard copy in your packet as well. And of course, October 1st, 2020.
So I actually have ready at hand my February and my October minutes. Is there anybody who's missing February and October? Because you could look at it on your screen. You could share your Zoom screen.
Okay.
And then look at the email.
If you could share your Zoom screen, that would be great.
So Doris, if you can share your screen for the February 4th minutes.
Oh, I've got the February minutes.
All right, but did somebody
Hold on.
not have them? Does everybody have February 4th minutes? Speak up. Will?
I have them, but I'm not seeing the one that I'm actually.
Okay, so Doris, can you share your screen for the February 4th minutes, please?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me pull them up here and of course.
Oh, Herb's eating dinner. That's not.
No. But George, no.
That's
I'm
the
just
only
doing what-
impetus to get
I'm
you to
just-
finish this stuff up so we can all go eat dinner.
No. I'm so
Oh,
sorry. I
and
didn't mean that.
Neely's eating.
Doris, quick question.
I'm having a
Were the
tortilla
minutes-
chip.
Were the minutes in the package that I picked up today or not?
Yes,
They
Yes,
were?
they were. They're underneath the agenda.
Okay, well, I have the agenda, but I don't.
okay, I'm
Okay,
going to
I mean, I
share
saw
them.
I saw the digital version earlier, but I don't have the hard copy here.
Not to jump ahead, are we having a work session March 18th through the 25th?
Yes,
Yes.
that's
Which-
the Chris Gobler presentation at 6
Oh, good.
o'clock
Goody, the 18th?
on March 18th.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm going to share February's and
If anybody has February's minutes.
Yep.
All right,
February minutes.
I made some comments here. One, under 3 public comments. The 2 is meant to.
do you see them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, go up a little bit. Yeah, there's 2, number 2, the discussion for a presentation by Dr. Gobler. That's meant to be the Harbor Committee discussed a tentative work session to be held March 18th or 20th for a presentation by Dr. Gobler. That's how it should read.
Okay.
Because that was the purpose of the work session. It was just for
Right.
Dr. Gobler's presentation.
That's right. Okay, so
So noted.
so noted. And then we go down to 59 John Street. Are you happy with this, John? Let's see. Was tabled.
There, hold on, I'm looking at it on a different screen. On 59 John Street, in between the two paragraphs, I was suggesting the following. There was considerable discussion, including a request for an updated planning plan, questions of the date of removal of a prior structure, comments by a neighbor, and question of Harbor Committee review before approval by the ARB and zoning board.
So Doris, I'm confused. I thought the minutes that you gave us incorporated John Parker's comments.
That is correct. And it's right here under
Oh, I'm
comments.
sorry. I do see it. I do see it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was thinking of it as a separate paragraph. Yes, that is included there. I'm sorry.
Do you see it?
Yes, yes.
Yep, okay.
So
Moving
no-
right along.
If that's fine, then the
12 Green Street.
yes, that's I did make some suggested changes to that, and this is consistent with that.
Okay. And then moving into new biz, we have 29 Harding Terrace. Oh, can I just break for a moment? Is anybody taking it upon themselves to see how 27 Harding Terrace, what kind of permit that was and when that pool was built? Fred, were you going to look at that?
No, I was on the variance. I don't think I was the 27, the next door.
Okay.
I thought that was a building department thing.
Okay.
The answer is no, it wasn't on my list.
I don't have the dates, but it was all pretty kosher.
Well, it just went in 2017.
Right, but it was a long process because she got stuck between the two moratoriums.
Oh,
You know what? I was talking when I was talking with Tom about the whether it needed a variance. He did mention this property. I'm sorry, it's totally jumped out of my head. And what was just said is absolutely correct. This thing got caught. 27 Harding got caught in two moratoria. It got caught in the wetlands moratorium, and it got caught in the GFA moratorium. And it was one of the cases that the village ended up having to settle, and they did get a permit for it. So that is the answer. Now that thank you.
Huge. They had a huge variance, 8,500 square feet, cubic feet.
wow. Okay. So moving on to 29 Harding Terrace. Does anybody have any comments about this? Are we good?
Yeah, I was good with that. That's fine.
Okay. And then this is more 29 Harding Terrace? I guess it is. Right, does not meet the setbacks. All right, so then we adjourned, okay? 7:45. Oh, no, we entered executive session at 7:47. And we hung out there for a long time, 8:38.
Correct.
Okay. And then on a motion by Will Sharp, second, the meeting was adjourned, all were in favor. What is time noted 7:47?
That was the time you adjourned the regular meeting.
Okay,
Should you put a length of the work session in? A mention of that? Oh, at 8:38, I see it, never mind.
but it's confusing to me. I mean, so.
It can just be taken out.
No, but in the next, just lump it together.
So didn't we go up after we finished the executive session? Did we go back in and discuss anything else at a regular meeting?
No, you adjourned, you made a motion to close the regular meeting and go into an executive session.
At 7:47.
So, right, so to me, as a secretary to the board, we closed the regular meeting at 7:47.
Right.
Okay, so I think this thing down here saying time noted 7:47.
Confusing.
It's
Just be
confusing.
deleted, yeah.
Delete.
Yeah, I would just delete that.
It's redundant.
That's fine. I can
Okay,
delete that. That's fine.
all right, we ended it. All were in favor, motion carried. The meeting was adjourned. All were
I
in
think this
favor.
is an efficient way of all of us going over the minutes together this way.
Yeah, okay, that one's done. Everybody, anybody have a problem with February 4th? Okay, can I have a motion to accept the minutes from February 4th?
I'll make the motion.
Second? Come
A
on,
second.
thank you. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay. Can we take a look? Oh, this is going to be a memory challenge. Can we look at October 1st?
Okay.
Doris?
Yes, I'm gonna, you have to share them. Hold on.
Thank you, Doris.
Oops.
Doris, I noticed that the way you write this is you put Thursday, February, comma, 4, comma, and then the year. How come so
on.
many commas?
Oh, give me 1 second. Oh, I just closed my screen. Did I just close my screen? I did.
You did?
Oh. I've been here since 8, guys. Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. So you were saying,
Well, it's not really important, but I don't understand the comma after the month.
In
oh,
But
the
day.
heading?
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see that. I see that. That's actually the template. So that has to be corrected.
whatever. Okay, so then we have 11 Terry Holdings. Remember that?
Oh,
Brian DeSessa, present on behalf of the applicant.
Hold on 1 second. Under minutes, I had a correction that the July, August, and September minutes were tabled. In other words, this says a motion to approve the minutes. It doesn't say they were approved. And
Oh.
what I have is they were actually tabled.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to insert that.
Okay, good, John.
It's section 2, right, John?
Yeah.
Yes, section 2 minutes.
Okay.
All right, so then here we have 11 Terry Holdings.
Could I ask, when you walk by there, he's putting cement. Is that what you all, I mean, I don't think I was involved here, but he's putting these cement things in the front of, on the beach side of that house. These, I guess he's putting a new
Bulkhead?
bulkhead. I mean, it's cement. These
No,
poor,
I don't think that we approved a bulkhead for that.
well,
Chick, do you
wait,
know?
are you talking about
We
not
don't-
11 Terry's the one that's right next to?
Right, the parking lot.
oh, yeah, no, sorry. I'm not talking about that
No,
one.
but
I'm
you're
talking about the
talking
other
about
one.
59 Terry Drive.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Sorry. I got
No,
confused.
No,
no.
I've been
No.
watching
40
them. They've been building and you saw
47,
that and you walked there the other day.
47 Terry, right?
47 Terry.
But they've got cement, those big, the molds for cement in the front.
Has all been
with
approved.
pilings. All approved?
Yes.
Okay.
So, well, maybe they're just putting a foundation of a house in.
In fact, no, the house is there.
Well, no, they're putting the footings in for that modern house.
To prevent the house from falling into the water,
Correct.
because it's too top heavy.
Well, it's not top heavy. It's a house that's being built there with a precarious bulkhead.
And two
Wasn't
huge
it?
decks.
It was previously bulkheaded though.
Yes, I can see that. There's some damage there. But they're,
Okay,
sorry.
that's all right. Well, in October, we tabled this until November 5th. Then we had 62 Water Street. Blah, blah, blah. Board reviewed and discussed the project. Do you have any changes or comments here, John? Was tabled until the next meeting.
Yeah, no, I think that's okay.
And then we have 314 Main Street. Boy, this has been around for a long time. Pearson House. So there's, I think under this, under number 3, there's some just punctuation or formatting problems, Doris.
Yes, yes, I see that.
It says Sag Harbor Cove and west of blah, blah. The whole thing is kind of like, I don't know
Yes.
why it's all broken up like that.
Okay, I'll fix that. It's the way it was. I guess
Okay,
it's not lined. I see it.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do any spelling or grammar correction.
No. Don't worry about
No.
that.
What I did add was a sentence at the end.
It's right here.
Yeah, it was saying that's right there, saying that several issues were discussed, including changes in plans, the house not being moved, no IA system, the status of the accessory building, whether it's for rent, and all were in favor of tabling.
Okay, so there's just a small typo. It says the house not being, there's an extra E in there. You see that, Doris?
Yes. I see it right here.
Yeah, okay.
Oops.
And then we can go to 55 John Street. Tabled until November 5th, fine. Then we have 59 John Street, wow. And that was also tabled until November 5th.
Correct.
And then we have a discussion item of 12 Green Street. Harbor Committee discussed historic structures approved by the ARB, blah, blah, blah. Application was deemed complete for public hearing.
Correct.
I think adjournment is misspelled there, if we care. Under 6, doesn't adjournment have an N in it?
Yes.
Okay, and then et cetera. So I think we have October 1st done. Anybody have any questions, comments? Okay, can I have a motion to approve this?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, what, now, I thought do we want to work through the other ones exactly like this? Are you all comfortable? Are you dying to put an end to this? It's 5 minutes to 8.
Yeah, I'm dying to put an end to it.
Me too.
Me too. I would agree
was
with
gonna
John
say,
on
let's-
that.
Let's do one more and then put an end to it.
Okay.
Oh, Lily.
Come on, guys.
Really? Taskmaster.
I think
Okay, let's
I
do,
think 8 o'clock is a hard finish.
Imagine if we were sitting up there and we didn't have our doggies at home to pat. Up at the podiums.
okay, let's
I'm
pick
not,
one more.
I'm not home, so I'm still in the
I'm
office.
sorry, Doris. I'm sorry.
We gotta
I know
let
you're
Doris
there.
go home.
I know, Doris, we have to let her go.
All right, so can we do one more? What do you think? It only takes like 5 minutes, right?
Come on, one more, guys. Sorry.
I'd really like to discuss the Havens Beach thing. I know it's,
Right.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Um,
all right.
Let's do
and
that.
All
it's
right,
somewhat
Let's
germane.
talk payments.
Let's do that. Go for it, Will.
All right.
Right, so are we gonna are we skipping the approval of these
Yeah.
minutes?
We are, but everybody's, I think it's pretty nice to review them on the screen like this. Don't you agree?
I really agree.
All right, so let's do that. And Doris, let's just put the approval of the minutes at the end of these meetings because nobody wants to listen to us yak about them.
Okay.
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 Okay. Will, you have the floor.
Okay, I'm going to read through these things, and then there's a few that are more important than others. But basically, I'm just thinking of Havens Beach holistically, because there's a lot of different things that have been going on there. And I think I know the answer to the first one. Is there a general plan or vision for Havens Beach? The second one was a follow-up on the status of the filter. What monies, what's going on with that? What's going on with Gobler for future testing, the status of the water there? the flooding at the south edge of the parking lot is really, has not been addressed, and it's an issue. One of the things we've all discussed recently is the village is piling up their snow melt. I go by there on a regular basis, and it's pretty goddamn obscene that that's even allowed. I think it should be, I mean, that's a discussion. I had an issue about the outdoor cinema, but Marianne said that that's not happening. A month or two ago, Marianne said that that East Hampton had approved an IA system. And I want to know if the Harbor Committee has a voice in that, or what's the procedure for that. I haven't seen the engineering. I understand that it's in process, but I haven't seen it.
Somebody who was sitting in on the East Hampton Natural Resources Committee, my friend Sarah Davidson, like the day that I said it to you, she said, "Oh, congratulations, you're getting an IA system on Havens Beach." I said, "Really?" So I don't know anything more about it other than maybe the funding was approved out of the East Hampton CPF.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
Okay, so if in fact it's been approved, is that something that we review, or is that just a fait accompli?
I don't know. Fred? See Fred
sorry,
from here?
if you could-
If there's a bathroom upgrade at Havens Beach that's been approved by East Hampton,
Well, it's been approved for money.
it's been approved for money, and I think the
Okay, well,
engineering
it's
is,
a capital project. It would be subject to coastal consistency before it's built.
So we'd have to
Yeah,
review
you
it.
would, like you just did for the local law, it would come to you for coastal consistency.
So they'll
Okay.
have to do like a water testing, the water testing site or the whole.
No, the coastal consistency, it's the LWRP.
I
So
know.
I don't think it gets down into those weeds, gets into different weeds.
okay, so I don't want to belabor the weed issue tonight, but I would like to have them, East Hampton, do a presentation before we get too far down into the weeds, because I think that there's information that may prove one way or the other that that's either the appropriate or an inappropriate technology for that site.
Did you ever go and talk to them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've spent a year on this, Marianne. I've gotten letters all up and down the state. And frankly, the only people that are in favor of the IA system are the people that are funding it. East Hampton Water Review Group. And
I'm kind of in favor of IA systems. I think I'm going to put one in my house.
But not right there.
it's a very different environment.
In my
You're
opinion, that
talking about on the beach per se. Okay. So,
Lily was saying something, I don't know.
I really applaud you in the work you've done, because I believe that Clivus Miltron is the way to go. I mean, I think if you look at the water level
okay,
table.
we're not talking about this here.
Okay.
But you know what? I think,
Can I just clarify what the status of this is?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of 5 municipal restrooms within the town of East Hampton that have been approved for upgrade to IA systems. It is currently being looked at in terms of engineering to see what type of system would be appropriate. Initially, there are some issues in terms of the groundwater level. And that's as far as it goes at the moment.
Well, Melissa said very explicitly that the IA system has been approved. So
Excuse me?
Melissa said that the IA system has been approved, but
I just said that they have. It's one of 5 places where an upgrade to an IA system in the town of East Hampton has been approved.
okay. So, and again,
wait, then John said that there is a concern about groundwater specifically at Havens Beach. Is that right? Of one of the 5?
Well, I said they're all at various engineering stages.
Okay.
Looking at issues, and at Havens Beach, there's an issue of of the level of the groundwater and how that would affect putting in an IA system.
Okay. So, John, what's going to happen? The engineers have said this is,
Well,
you know-
I don't know what the engineers are going to say. I mean, there'll be an engineering, report on it.
It probably just used a generic IA system. They didn't necessarily, right, decide which one it was going to be. Just
Well,
generic,
but that's what the engineer's probably looking at, because
right?
there's some that you can use when you have a lot of, space to groundwater, and then others when you can't, it's a very shallow.
Yeah, that's
deal.
that's
And
one of the issues. And what they do for IA system is, if there's a high water table, is that they put concrete in to counterbalance it so it doesn't float out of the ground. Going over to a project that Marianne was Green Street, was the information is that you can put IA systems under a driveway, and in fact they're done all the time. And what we got information from that client, from that applicant, was inaccurate, and we need to be a little more savvy, myself included, about what can and cannot be done. But Marianne was right when I talked to her about this the other day. Hydro Action is one company that does this. I talked to the guy that runs Hydro Action, and he's been doing it for a long time. So we need to be careful about our information, because what I gathered from Green Street was that you couldn't do that. And you couldn't put an IA system under a driveway, and that's not accurate. So, so going back to Havens, I would just like to see if there's some kind of a, who's on top of the filter? What's the status of that?
all right, wait, okay, so I think as far as like the IA system, I think your questions are good, and I think that John is probably the closest to that. John, will you be told when those engineering reports come back, or will they be reviewed in your committee? Or will that just be handled all through the Natural Resources Committee?
We'll have an update, an update to the committee. I mean, obviously the updates that the committee is getting are not just, for Sag Harbor or Havens Beach, they're for all of the town. So it's just one of, again, I think the number was 5 that they were,
Okay.
That they were reviewing. I mean, I can ask for a further, update on it.
Do you know the engineer, John?
Excuse me?
Do you know who the engineer is?
No, I don't. I didn't get into any details. I can get some of that information, but.
I think that'd be great to ask whether or not there's been an engineering report received for Havens Beach.
Great. And then somebody could put their arms around or something, the filter, some of this information.
Yeah, I can talk about the filter a bit.
Great.
All right, and it kind of ties in a bit with, I think, your third question, which was Dr. Gobler.
Yeah.
All right, so Dr. Gobler, I think I said this at a meeting or two ago, is that their whole results analysis has been delayed because a lot of the reactants that they use for microbial source tracking are the same ones they use for COVID testing, right? So there was like a sort of a free-for-all and microbial source tracking lost. So there was a delay in terms of getting their science together, but it's ready now. I reached out to him this morning and I said, are reconfirming March 18th. So that will be, harmful algae, the usual, and it'll include Little Northwest Creek. The thing that I'm really interested in is we were able to do some testing of the drain there at Havens Beach before and after those sponges were replaced.
That's good.
Right. So, and I saw the before ones and they were terrible. And then I saw some afterwards and they weren't so good either. But you know what? I'm not sure whether or not those sponges need some kind of curing, whether or not they need to be wet and sit in water before they become totally, I don't know. So I'm really,
Marianne, can I?
why don't you let me finish my sentence? So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Gobler report has to say. Yes, John.
Marianne, you're saying that the question was whether the sponges had been replaced, and I believe you're saying they are. And
They
could
have
you
been.
Tell us when they were replaced. These are the Abtec sponges.
Right. They were replaced in July.
I know
Right.
work was done, but I didn't know that the new sponges had been put in. So that was July.
They rebuilt the whole vault and put in new sponges in July. And we have a couple of weeks of testing before that.
Did they replace the Fabtex filter?
I don't know about that. I heard, and this is from Kim Shaw, that they use Abtec filters out in Montauk, but we're using Abtec sponges in Sag Harbor. So I think that may be an either or, but you're now over my pay grade, and we can find that out at some point. You can go back to the presentation that PW Grosser made to us that described what the work was that was going to be done. And that
presentation did not include that they were definitely replacing the Abtec sponges.
No.
The Fabtec spiral sponge or spiral filter
Yes, it did.
is to the north of the Abtec sponges, and it was an add-on, and it's still there, although I can't tell whether it's been replaced or not. And so that's what I'm asking.
I have no idea.
You're saying there's two systems there?
Yeah,
John?
I'm saying the Abtec sponges were never serviced as they were supposed to be serviced.
Right.
Correct.
So they were assumed to be non-functional. And as an add-on or a Band-Aid, a spiral filter made by Fabco was put in at the outlet. In other words, on the north side of the road there. And you could see that actually there was a bigger opening, and they made the opening smaller and put this filter in. And again, I'm not sure whether that's been serviced or replaced. I'm also not sure whether, if it's not serviced or replaced, whether it obstructs the flow of water through the Abtec sponges. And if it does, then more of the water is bypassing the whole
John, you know what? Nobody in this room, this Zoom room, knows the answer to those things. I think you might want to ask Dee Yardley.
So Dee Yardley knows that. Okay.
Maybe. I would go to your Dee and ask him. He's the closest. He was helping replace those sponges, move those sponges around. I don't know.
Okay, so
start with Dee Yardley.
Okay, so John, if you're in town, I'd love to join you and talk with Dee about this.
I'm not. I was supposed to be, but I'm not going to be in town this weekend. But
I'll come with you.
I'll try to get in touch with him.
Okay, so all right. Enough said. We'll talk to Dee from Marianne's point of view. Just to go over this, we need to get somebody to talk about the snowmelt stuff.
So I've been talking about the snowmelt.
Okay.
So I know what the DEC rule is. The DEC says that you have to put it like 50 to 100 feet from, quote unquote, I think it says the water, which is a little, and when I pasted off, that big hulking mass after the first snow was about 75 feet from the water. It also says you're supposed to use hay bales and a silt fence. Well, they put the silt fence along the fence of the drain, I guess protecting the drain from the nasty snow melt. I'm not sure. I don't know. But that whole location is not appropriate. So with Chick's help, I got a map of all the village property, thinking where else could we move this so that it's not on Havens Beach? And there's some squirrely place up there, it's a wooded area up around the other side of this Pearson, kind of up in there. But number one, it must be wetlands in there. I don't know. I didn't look at the wetlands, but it's a ravine. It's not a place you want to dump snow. And not only that, there's just a whole bunch of trees. There's no place you could back up a truck. It's just not workable. And then there's the fire department. And I posed that as a possible solution, and I got shot down pretty quickly on that. But the place that I thought was the best, and I'm going to draw you a map. You're going to love this.
Come on, display it. Share your screen, Mary Ann.
I am. Just a minute. Okay, so. Okay, so here we go. This is Havens Beach, right? And you're driving in here, and then you come here, and that's where the snow usually is, about where I'm sitting, right? Correct?
You raise it up a little?
I can't see a thing.
No, the pencil's too,
All right.
You need a Sharpie.
yep.
I think it could just go inland from the parking lot at Haven.
Chuck it in the dog
No.
park.
No,
By
you
where
really
they
can't.
put the
Have-
JY, where they put the JY-15s.
Yeah,
No, that area, that you talk about, flooding of the south end of the parking lot. I mean, that whole area is flooded. I walked my dog all the way back through that, and it's like, it's totally muck.
Oh, it's marshland.
Right. So I have a better idea. I think you can shoot it down if you want. But,
Thank you for doing all that.
oh, it just drives me crazy. All right. So can you see that now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so you enter Havens Beach, rather than taking the snow there, the place that I think it should be is the first snowfall is there, and then the second one, et cetera, right? And I proposed this to the mayor, and she said, well, that's all marshy. So I went over there and I walked it. It is not marshy, it is sandy, and the marshy stuff over by Co Maria is way over here.
cool.
So
Deer might like it. We'll hide them more.
yeah, exactly. And the other thing I like about it is somebody suggested, well, put it here. Well, that's going to be an eyesore.
They already did. There was a pile there a week or two ago.
They've got a big pile of sand there. I don't know why. I've noticed the
Well,
past days.
What?
So Mary Ann, where you're talking about, you could just, that's just, refresh my memory, what's over there right now?
Nothing.
Is it just lawn or what is it?
Well, it's lawn, and then when you back it up here, there's trees.
Yeah,
Right, but there's quite a bit. Now, there's a wood fence here that some of it might have to be removed, or to have the, modified so you could lift up the, what do you call them? The crossbars. So a truck could actually go in there. But that's what I thought was the best. And I also met Jim LaRocca over here, and Jim LaRocca is the trustee that is the
parks.
liaison for DPW. No, he's DPW in this situation. And talked to him about this mess here. And he sort of agreed. And then I thought, well, let's just hang out for a while. And then it snowed again. So, but this is my idea. And if somebody else has got a better idea, I would love to hear it. But I thought that was probably the best that I could see. I have to plug my computer in.
Chick, in Colorado, where I lived, there was a real interesting process of distilling pools, and it was very effective. And basically, we don't need that, but it was an idea that, when I saw this, we need some decanting process. So it goes from really coarse stuff to not so coarse to eventually into the bay. My thought on this is that we're doing all of these different projects at Havens Beach, and all of a sudden the snowmelt happens and it destroys all of the
I know.
environmental issues we've tried.
It drives me crazy. I go like, okay, so what did we do? Did we eradicate like all the rain gardens for the next 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's $45,000 for those rain gardens. And then I don't know how much for the filters, et cetera. So great, Mary Ann, that's good. If you have another place next winter, we can look at that.
Right.
I think I indicated a couple of meetings ago that we did prepare a at least a conceptual management strategy for the mayor regarding most of the issues that Will brought up. And it didn't all have solutions, but it did have, you know, an identification of these issues and some potential solutions. So, you know, we can look at that again. Since 2016, when I started with the village, this has been an issue.
Yeah.
It seems to
Issue
be
before
the
that.
fact of the
What are you
convenience.
talking about? You're talking about snow removal?
Yeah, primarily it's snow removal. It seems to be a convenient solution to get rid of the snow, but it's not great environmentally.
No. So,
Definitely needs to be looked at and managed.
right. So, you know, in terms of where you started off, Will, is like what's going on in Havens Beach. And one of the things that I'm really excited about, and I hope I don't, you know, live to see disappointment here, is we are in the process, aren't we, Chick? When is that? Next week, this week? Submitting for funding for an overall master plan for the Havens Beach watershed, which is probably plural, right? There's more than one watershed. So it'd be everything from 114 all the way down to the water.
Whoa.
Terrific.
Whoa. Who's doing it?
Basically, all of the surface watershed areas from Cor Maria to Little Northwest Creek.
Your firm is doing that?
Yeah, well, it's a grant proposal to the town of East Hampton under the CPF. And the village board authorized us to submit. We will have it in time. We don't know if it will be funded, but it basically looks at the upper areas of the watersheds, as well as Havens Beach, the dog park, the Dream, you know, many of these things that you're talking about. And we would want to study them comprehensively to try and come up with some solutions to these problems that everyone has identified.
Excellent,
I
excellent.
don't know if there's catch basins along the way, but just like all the outflows, there's outflow pipes that are, you know, just dumping water straight into the bay. So
I just think it's a really great opportunity to make a statement about our little community. And it's been the backyard for a long time. I guess John Palmer was really concerned about the snow melt many years ago when he was on the harbor committee. This is good to hear. So thank you.
Jeff Peters.
John, I'm sorry, Peters. Yeah.
Jeff Peters, yes.
Yeah, Peter, oh yeah.
He's
Jeff
still
Peters.
ranting about it.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Now he's
upsetting.
moved, so we don't have to hear him all the time.
Yeah,
It's
but
upsetting.
I actually, because I remembered him jumping up and down about this, and I asked him, I said, do you have any pictures? And he did, and he brought me his old iPad that has pictures from the 2015 snow, and that's what I showed Jim LaRocca.
Oh, that must have been a big pile.
It wasn't a high pile, but it was that whole area there in front of the boats and in front of the dog park was just solid snow.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Unbelievable. I forgot about those pictures. Yeah. All right. What else is on your list there, Mr. Will Sharp?
Dinner. Thank you all.
Who's
I
volunteering?
finished, I finished my wine. My wife said, hide that from those people.
Stop at 8 o'clock.
That was unfair.
Eileen,
The wine
Eileen,
glass, that was unfair.
Eileen, I just want to say one thing to thank you. You made a big, good list of the replacement trees.
Yeah.
Didn't you do that? You did a really fabulous a list of all the trees. But, you know, combining the old tree list from 1994 and the current, you spent a lot of time on that. And I just wanted to acknowledge that. Wasn't it you that did that?
I don't think that was me, actually.
Oh, yeah? Oh dear, okay.
Well, thanks anyway.
But anyway, sure.
Thanks for hanging in there. Here.
Notable recognition.
Thanks anyway.
All right. So now it is like almost 8:20, 8:19. Should we, anything else, or should we ask for a motion to adjourn?
I have a question. Back
Yes.
to the minutes.
Yes.
So, do you want to approve the 3 other sets?
Not tonight.
I have them here.
No,
Okay.
no, we're going
No.
home. We're going forward.
All right.
No, but we're gonna do them. We did 2 of them tonight, plus an LWRP review, coastal consistency review.
Just want to make sure,
But
okay?
then, John,
we
you're
won't-
gonna look at, we had, everyone voted yay, John voted nay. You'll look at your minutes and let Doris know if you switch to a yay.
No, it's just done. It's,
Okay.
you know, anyway. All right, so can we adjourn? I really want to eat dinner.
I want to go home.
Yeah,
Thank you, Doris.
thank you, Doris.
You're
All right, a
welcome.
motion
Take
to
care,
adjourn.
everyone.
And
Thank
Yes.
you.
No.
Good
we
night,
need-
everybody.
All right, who's seconded that motion?
Who made the
I'll second.
motion? Sorry.
All right,
I'll second
Lee-
it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
bye.
Night.
Hi, everybody.
Good night.
Good job, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank
Night.
you.
Thank you, Doris.
Thank you, John. Good night. Good night, all.
I hope your doggy's okay.
Yes,
Good night, Doris.
she's
Have a good
she's
night,
home.
Doris.
Have a good night,
Okay.
Eileen. Thank you,
Good night.
Marianne. Thank you. Yeah, she's home already.